Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. Welcome to the weekend, and welcome to the finale of Higurashi, When They Cry, Chapter 6. This should be an interesting time. Also, that song is a bop. I thought that was going to be a creepier version of an already creepy song that I like, but no, that was actually really catchy. How's everybody doing tonight? Hello, Proxima. Hello, Shirley. Welcome to you both. Great to see ya. I did read your Rika theory. Yeah, and I think there's some merit there, yeah. I'm not sure if Rika herself is, like, the person who is visiting all the different timelines, or if there's, like, a demon or a ghost or whatever possessing her that is. Still not too sure about that. It's possible. Still not really sure how to feel about that. I think if Rika herself was the person who is there for all the timelines and has knowledge of all that and not another thing inside her, that's gonna call into question why she's been acting like a dunce the whole time. But maybe she's got her reasons. Also, yeah, your theory about Takano leading an Oyashiro-sama cult, I could see that. She's either the biggest troll in the world or she's up to something kind of sinister. And considering that she faked her own death and killed her boyfriend, I'm willing to bet she's just involved with something very sinister. So, especially since previously, she's been kind of indirectly responsible for a lot of the tragedies. Well, going back to chapter 2/5, her talks with Shion kind of, I'm not going to say caused her to go crazy, but she talked to Shion and, like, gave her a lot of details about his past, and then Shion went crazy. And then here in chapter 6, she talked with Rena, gave her a lot of information, and then Rena's going crazy. And also, apparently, there's a drug that goes around that is what killed Tomotake that causes the maggot disease. It's out there, and Takano's looking like the most responsible person for that. So, I knew I didn't trust that lady from the beginning, but now it's pretty clear there's something untoward going on. But then again, what isn't untoward in this game? It's a horror game. Also, just as a heads up, there might be a couple times during this stream where I have to get up and chase some deer off my property. I actually just planted 3 apple trees today in my yard, which is great. Unfortunately, I also have a large amount of deer that kind of hang around, and they have already shown interest in trying to eat the trees. So if I see them out the window near my trees, I am going to get up and chase them away. I already chased a couple of them away pretty aggressively, so hopefully they won't be coming back, but you never know. So if I have to get up and take a quick unexpected break, that is why. You're afraid Ren is gonna go all don't come to school tomorrow, Keiichi, and this time I'm not joking. Yeah, I could see that happening. Rena's about to do something big, and probably not in the good way. Get off. Get off my lawn, you wascally deer. And I feel bad, because I actually like having deer in the yard. I like just calmly observing them. And I generally keep to myself. And I think it kind of freaked them out when all of a sudden I'm running right at them. And they're like, oh my gosh, I thought he was chill. It's like, look, I don't mind you. You can be in my yard, but you absolutely cannot eat the trees that I just planted. Tomorrow I'm going to Home Depot and getting some small fences to put around them so the deer can't get them. I thought I could have at least one day where they wouldn't really care. But nope, not so. Hopefully they don't eat it during the time I'm asleep. But anyways, welcome back to Higurashi When They Cry, Chapter 6. Everybody, we are at the end of Chapter 11 within Chapter 6, and I think we only have like 2 more main achievements left, along with the view all the tips and just complete the game. So here we go. Let's see what Ren is about to do. Continue. Ooh, nice piano music. At lunchtime the next day, okay, it's Keiichi's perspective, everybody in class was talking about Rena's disappearance. We were all worried about her safety, but I kept a safe distance from everybody else.
You know,
I think we've had the remake art style long enough. Let's go back to console, shall we?
鬼隠しにあったなんていい加減なことを言ってる連中もいるよ。まったく。
You said all of that with basically just a cough? I will never understand other languages.
ケイチさん 今日は元気がありませんでしたよ。
Red alert that I shot people with a BB gun in my past.
みー。
Oh, I do like remake Rika a little better, but Satoko and Rika-chan noticed something odd about my attitude.
俺は
I like Console Mio and I like Console Satoko. I feel like Rika, she really just needs to be in the remake art style. I like her design there a lot bit better, but I also actually schoolgirl Rika in the original art style is pretty nice as well. I don't know, she looks like a different character in this art style. I couldn't sleep at all last night because of what Rena told me. Friends don't keep secrets from one another. That sentence bit into my heart, and I couldn't sleep because of the pain.
ミオ、サトコもリカちゃんも話しておきたいことがある。
レナに関すること？
いや、そうじゃない。俺自身についてのことなんだ。
I decided to tell them about it because they were my friends, but I didn't know what I was expecting to change by doing so. They might despise me. Was there any benefit in telling them? No, there wasn't. I knew that for sure. But I still wanted to tell them about it, just because I thought it'd help heal the pain I was feeling.
ケイイチさんのことですの？
ああ、ちょっと真面目な話なんだ。聞いてほしい。
Rika's like, I've already heard this.
俺が引っ越してくる前のことなんだ。当時の俺は勉強しか脳のないやつだった。
Sometimes I feel that way too. I learned the tricks of the game called studying at my cram school. I enjoyed the sense of superiority I felt by getting good grades. I kept studying just because I wanted to look down on the other students. Oh, he was an a-hole. When my grades got better, my parents got happier, and my teachers praised me. I felt good. It was fun to look down on the students who were good at running, dodgeball, and swimming. That was the only reason I kept studying. Before I knew it, not only was I at the top of my class, I was the top of my school. So I started to think I was the most important student there. I looked down on the kids who were playing in the schoolyard during lunch break. I enjoyed feeling a sense of superiority to them and my insignificance. The more I studied, the better everybody expected me to do. They started to place high hopes on me. They expected me to go to the best school in Japan. I flattered myself in thinking I deserved to go to that school as well. But the fun went out of looking down on people, while the burden of studying didn't change a bit. My classmates stopped admiring my cleverness after a while, and my teachers started to push me to study more. All of a sudden, the fun had gone out of it. To begin with, I didn't even like to study. I had average reflexes. I was average in a fight. I was an average boy, and with nothing that really drew attention. Every protagonist in a nutshell. So when I found something that I could use to get to that attention, I jumped on it. It happened to be studying for me, but if it was riding a unicycle or juggling, I would have done that too. Yeah, Japanese and a lot of Asian school systems in general don't really care if they stress the students out. It's all about study harder, study harder, study harder, study harder. I'm actually really, really bad at studying. I was naturally good at academics, but I didn't really have to study for it. If I ever actually have to study, I'm kind of bad. I was just a little boy who wanted to be praised when I did something better than anybody else. I finished all of my summer homework because my parents praised me for it, and I took charge of cleaning duties at school because my teachers praised me for it. So when they stopped praising me for what I did, I began to feel as though my life had no meaning. My parents used to give me an allowance that was proportional to how good my grades were, so I used to get a substantial amount of money for my age. Keiichi was flushed with cash. I don't know if I had a natural interest in violence, or if I was looking for it because of my frustration at the time. I took an interest in BB guns. Better that than a real gun, I guess. At first, I shot at cardboard boxes. It was fun. Being violent at pieces of cardboard relieved a lot of stress. Nobody blamed me for doing that. But soon, I started wanting to do something I never should have done. On the box that my BB gun came with, there was a warning label that read, "Do not shoot at people." That was when I thought about doing just that. Oh boy. Yeah. Don't do this. That sounds like fun. I'm gonna do that. Why did I do something I shouldn't have? I guess I was just immature. What? Keiichi? Immature? Never. I wasn't interested in studying anymore, but I forced myself to do so anyway. My parents forced me to go to several cram schools. I was mad at them for that. I should have just told them I didn't want to study anymore, but I didn't have the courage to do that. So, I used my frustration as an excuse to do something cowardly. I shot at kids who were younger than I was with my BB gun. It gave me such a thrill. It felt so good to do something bad when I was overcome with studying. Needless to say, I had no personal grudge against the kids I shot. He's just like, hi, this'll be fun. I mean, Keiichi, he was a jerk when he was younger, but he's also deeply regretful over it, so I forgive him. You know, I don't think any of us want to be judged by how we were when we were in, like, middle school or high school, right? Also, hello, X-Dude. Welcome to the stream. See what happens when you don't give your child a break and never ask how he's doing? Yeah, you gotta nurture them as well. As long as the kids passed through a deserted street, they met the requirements to become my target. I didn't mean to hurt them. I shot at them once or twice from a distance. That's all I wanted to do. But sometimes they didn't react at all because the BBs hit a thicker part of their clothes or something. I didn't like that, so I started to shoot until they noticed they were being hit. It inevitably escalated into a barrage of gunfire. I study a lot. I'm doing something good. So I deserve to do something bad to balance out the good thing I'm doing. That's not how that works. That was the unbelievably selfish excuse I made. I thought I had the right to do things because I was suffering myself. I thought people who weren't suffering like I was deserved to be shot at and to get hurt a little bit. I was so selfish, so arrogant, and so immature. I was disgusted with myself. If I could have met myself at the time, I would have given myself a punch in the face so hard I'd knock all my teeth out. They started to call it a series of attacks on school children. The principal of my school held a morning assembly to inform everyone about the case and to warn them to be careful when playing outside. I was laughing sneakily. He's like the girl in the meme of like the building burning down. She just gives the side eye to the camera like, Satoko, why is he telling us this? Good question. The PTA issued a letter of warning and advice to take the safest way to and from school. Parents took turns watching kids and when they walked between home and school in groups. The more serious it got, the more it reminded me of the excitement I first felt when my grades started going up. I was absorbed in that game I was playing. I didn't think that I'd get caught someday. I didn't even think to stop doing it either. One day, I found a little girl who was walking down a narrow, dark street all alone. She was a very small girl. I don't know if she was on her way to her friend's house or if she was running an errand. I didn't care which. It was careless of her to go out alone. The school had warned her not to. So it was her fault. Just like always, I made a selfish excuse and attacked her. Some of the shots hit her in the back. She noticed she was being attacked by somebody. She turned around. It was a natural reaction. At that time, I didn't hesitate to rain hell upon her. So when she turned around, I was still shooting at her. Usually when I shot at a kid, she cried in pain and ran away. But this girl was different. She thrashed around in excruciating pain, holding one of her eyes. When I saw her doing that, I realized what had happened right away. The BB had hit her in the eye. Until that moment, I didn't think about what would happen when a pellet that could easily go through a cardboard box hit an eyeball. Anyway, the girl howled in pain, and for the first time, I realized I had done something horrible. She saw me, so I couldn't take her to a hospital. I couldn't do anything about it, so I left her there while she was still screaming in pain. I wondered if she was okay, and I worried that she had lost her eye. I kept thinking about her, and I didn't even feel like eating that day. I went to the bookshelf in our living room, snuck a medical book to my room, and studied the structure of a human eye. It was too late to make a difference, but I studied what kind of injuries would make a person lose their vision. I knew it wouldn't make the sin I committed weigh any less if I found out that she wouldn't lose her sight. I couldn't sleep that night, and I suffered from a high fever. It's interesting because this feels like a parallel to Chapter 1 where Keiichi learned about Rena's breakdown from Uisi. Oh, absolutely! This is paralleling Chapter 1 very interestingly. It's not the same chapter, but there are a lot of similar beats. Just without the really, really scary stuff that I found in Chapter 1. It wasn't my parents, my teachers, or the police who first punished me for what I did. It was my own body. Before dawn, I woke my parents up and confessed to my sin. They were shocked at first, but it seemed like they understood the situation quickly due to my recent disobedient behavior and my interest in BB guns. My mom cried hysterically. My dad slapped me in the face till it swelled up. Look, I'm not one to excuse abusing your kids or anything, but he kind of deserved to get smacked. Maybe not that much, but yeah. Before the sun came up, I turned myself into the police, accompanied by my parents. See, like, he owns up to it. That's the thing. Like, he truly was remorseful, like, oh, crap, because he didn't try to hide it. He didn't run away. He was like, nah, I gotta come clean, and I gotta make it up for it. So, big respect to Keiichi for doing that. Satoko stared at me with a stunned expression. I deserved to receive that kind of look. What I did was very wrong, and I needed to accept that.
それ本当ですの？
ああ、本当だ。今まで隠していて悪かった。
なんでそんなことを今頃になってわ
Mion's like, what is...
ざわざ言おうと思ったわけ？
Mion's like, what is with Keiichi just constantly telling me weird things? First it was like these weird conspiracy theories, and now this. Mion asked me. Rika-chan nodded in agreement.
本音から言うとさ、ケイちゃんどうしたのって感じかね。
まあ、そりゃそうだよな。
違うよ。そんなことわざわざ言い出す必要あったのかなってね。
いや、隠し事をするなんて仲間じゃないよな。俺はみんなのことを仲間だと思ってる。だからもう隠してなんかいられなかったんだ。
圭一はそれを僕たちに話して何を期待しているのですか？
That's a fair question.
期待なんて別にないよ。俺はただ
許しが欲しくても僕にはあげられないのです。圭一が怪我をさせた人たちにしかそれは与えられませんのです。
Yeah, I mean, she's got a point.
だから僕たちにそれを話しても何の期待にも応えられないのですよ。リカの言う通りですわね。潔いのは認めますけれど、そんなことを私たちに打ち明けてどうしたいって言うんですの？
どうしたいってことはないよ。ただ仲間に隠し事は。
Is this gonna lead to like all of us being like, here's my dark secret? My friends looked annoyed by the sudden confession of my past. I took it as bitter medicine. I got what I deserved.
ケイちゃんさ、ちょいとここで質問なんだけどさ。
What's with the weird, like, sly smirk there, Mion?
仲間に隠し事ってしたらいけないわけ？
That's also a good question, Mion.
え？
ケイちゃんの論法だと隠し事をしないのが仲間みたいな話だけどさ、おじさんはそんなの嫌だね。
僕も嫌です。
Mion and Rika-chan obviously disagreed with my statement. Well, yeah, they both have big secrets that they're keeping. Rika's like, yeah, I'm all-knowing because I've relived this life so many times. And Mion's like, yeah, well, I'm part of a Yakuza family, so I got my secrets. And Satoko's just like, my life is pain. Satoko nodded, following suit.
言いたくないことを言わないで何が悪いわけ？人には話したくないことや辛いこと、悲しいこと、失敗したことや思い出したくないことがたくさんある。それを全部打ち明けないと仲間と呼べないんなら、私はそんな仲間はいらないね。
でもそれじゃあ。
圭一、打ち明けなくていいことと打ち明けなくてはならないことは違いますのです。罪は許しを得るために打ち明けなくてはならない。でも打ち明けて許された罪は
True.
もう打ち明ける必要はないのですよ。
True.
そうですわね。だって圭一さんはちゃんとおまわりさんのところに行って怒られてきたんで
No,
ご
my
ざいま
dad
しょ。
bought them off.
それで償いをして許してもらえたなら、それで圭一さんの罪はおしまいですわよ。
自首してその結果を受け入れたなら、それでケイちゃんのお務めは終わりだよ。もちろんケイちゃんが罪の十字架を背負い続けることはとても大切なこと。二度と過ちを繰り返さないよう常に胸に刻み続けるのは正しいことだよ。
Rika is very wise, but she also acts very weird at times.
でもね、それはケイちゃんが自戒することであって打ち明けなくちゃいけないことではない。
そうですわよ。過去の恥ずかしい話なんかは私も内緒にしたいことがたくさんございましたよ。
True.
さとこは特にいっぱいいっぱいありますのです。
Rika, don't tell us this. I want you to be somebody who can actually keep other people's secrets.
私だけじゃございませんのよ。リカもですわよ。リカもですわよ。
Don't tell us her secrets either, okay?
みー。
Rika, oh. They decided to pogo stick. Satoko and Rika-chan fooled around with each other like they always did. Mion looked at them and then looked back at me.
今、サトコはとてもいいことを言ったと思う。ケイちゃんにはどの部分かわかる？
Probably not.
過去の話は内緒にしたいというところか？
違う。その次の部分。誰にだってあるってところだよ。無菌室の試験管の中で育った人間でもない限り、人の人生は試行錯誤の繰り返しだと思う。
True.
いいことも悪いことも、いろいろなことを繰り返して成長して、それで最後の最後に素晴らしい人間になれればいいんじゃない？
So Keiichi, couldn't you have just gone to like Catholic Church and done confession instead of like trauma dumping on us?
いいことも悪いことも、すべてとても大切な経験なんだと思う。
Hey Manfred, welcome to the stream. You love this episode. That seems to be the common consensus. Pretty much everybody's like, oh man, this episode's really good. Like my favorite, one of my favorites, which I have to agree. This is a very good chapter.
それは誰でも同じで、ケイちゃんだけじゃない。私にも、サトコにも、リカちゃんにも。
It probably won't end well, considering literally every single other chapter has not ended very well. The best ending of the... Has the happiest ending been chapter 4? Just because the playable protagonist from our perspective lived, even though his wife died and like literally everyone in Hinamizawa died? Is that really the best ending? It's either that or like chapter 1. Bruh, is chapter 1's ending really the best? That can't be.
いやいや、クラスの全員にも当てはまることなんだよ。
There probably isn't a Catholic church in Himezawa. Yes, yeah, you're correct about that, Proxima. That's fair.
例えば、ミーはもっと昔は札付きの悪者さんだったのですが。
Last year, she just literally beat up Satoko and victim blamed her for no reason. That wasn't me!
にゃーにゃー。
まあ本当はあんまり言いたかないんだ
But
けどね。
Mion had to take the rap for that one.
私から見ればモデルガンで闇討ちなんてかわいいもんだって。
True.
私なんかレンガとか投げつけてたよ。いやほんと。
Mion, that is like aggravated assault and battery.
警察に何度お世話になったことやら。
Why are you saying that with a happy smile on your face? She's like, man, good times.
ダム戦争の最中はちょっとした留置場常連だったよ。いや本当に。
でも、昔のことなのですよ。そしてそれを圭一に言う必要はないのです。仲間であってもなのです。
仲間であっても？
私だってとても言えないような苦い過ちや罪がいくつもあります。でも言わないのは言っても仕方がないからですわ。
言って楽になるなら私たちは聞くよ。でもね、仲間だから言わなければならないなんてルールはない。
Yeah, I agree with Mion. Keiichi didn't need to do that.
むしろ仲間なら言いたくない過去を察してあえて聞かないのが本当の仲間なんじゃない？
Happy.
それはそうだけど。
ケイちゃんが打ち明けて楽になったならそれでいいよ。私たちは今日の話をすぐにでも忘れる。それに今日の話を聞いたからケイちゃんとの接し方を変えるようなこともない。
圭一が前の町でしたことなんて今の圭一と何の関係もないのです。今の圭一が僕たちにとってかけがえのない仲間であるのなら前の町のこと、理科の言う通りでございますわ。逆に前の町でどんなに善行を積もうともこちらに来て嫌な人だったなら前の町の善行なんかしたこと
That's
じゃあり
also
ませんわ
true.
ね。
It goes both ways.
ってことはさ、ケイちゃん、
Don't mind me just frequently glancing behind my computer screen to see if the deer have returned.
前の町での十字架はケイちゃんが密かに胸に秘めることであってこっちでわざわざ口にする必要なんてないんじゃない？
I think the two deer I chased off from my apple trees must have told the other deer in the area, like, bruh, the owner of that house is gone crazy. Don't go near him anymore. Which, like, alright, if that's what it takes.
いや、仮に口にしてもだ。
You still think that Satoko pushed her parents off the bridge like she did to Keiichi in Chapter 3? Why would she do that, though? Unless her parents sucked, but we don't really have any evidence of that other than they supported the dam construction project. So that doesn't make much sense.
それでケイちゃんの味方を変える程度のやつだったら、私はそいつの方を見下げるね。
Besides, we proved in Chapter 3 that if you get pushed off that bridge, you apparently survive. Then again, I don't know how much of any of the Chapter 3 ending I should trust, given how completely mind-breaking it was.
過去が何だろうと、今が素晴らしい人間であるならば、どうして恥じることがございますの？もし過去の過ちを一生取り戻せなかったら、私たちは何のために生き続けますの？
These hands. These hands.
サトコは過去にとても甘えん坊さんでした。
True.
それを後悔して、今はこんなにも元気で頑張っていますのです。
She a strong, independent woman who need no man except in Chapter 3.
だから、僕は今のサトコはとても素晴らしいと思いますです。昔どうだったかなんて、僕は興味理科。
Rika's like, can you please stop interrupting me? Then speak faster. Stop taking so many pauses between your words.
ケイちゃんだってどうよ。例えば私が留置場常連の札付きだとしたら、私への見方を変える？
Maybe.
変えないでしょ？私は私。いつものように楽しくふざけ合える関係は何も変わらないでしょ？
Oh yeah, that CG of her pushing us off the bridge is one of the best CGs. Probably also one of the creepier ones. I still think the two creepiest CGs in Higurashi, though, are number 2, Rena trying to break into our house through, like, the door slit. And I still think the creepiest CG I've seen is the one where Keiichi's on the phone and Rena's, like, right behind him staring at him through the doorway in Chapter 1. It was only there for, like, a second, but dear God, that was, like, the biggest jump scare in the whole game. Also, Shion laughing hysterically on the phone was also up there.
それが仲間ってもんだもん。
What? What's going on? Miona's trying to cheer me up with an encouraging smile on her face, but her expression became distorted all of a sudden. No, it didn't. Big teardrops fell from my eyes. What? Why am I crying?
先に言っとく。俺はサトシのことは何も知らない。みんなが隠してたからな。
隠してたってわけじゃ。
毎年起こる事件のこと隠してたろ。
あ、それはケイちゃんを。
怖がらせたくなかったってのか？それが理由で俺だけのけ者かよ。
いや、そんなつもりじゃ。
Mion didn't know what to say. She had tears in her eyes. She thought she did me a favor. She didn't know why it turned out like this. She didn't want to make me scared of the village since I just moved here. What more reason did she need?
ミオンに直にダム現場で事件がなかったかって聞いたよな。ミオンはないって言ったじゃないか。バラバラ殺人があったのによ。
Is this back in Chapter 1?
嘘つき野郎。
ごめん。嘘ってわけじゃ。
仲間ってのは隠し事なんかなしだろ。そうだろ。じゃあお前らは仲間じゃない。
Yeah, this is the scene where he's just like, we're not friends anymore. And then we got the CG of like the glowing eyes when she was like, how dare Oisi tell him all that? Ah! What are friends? What are friends? What were friends to me? They were my true friends. They really cared about me. They were so nice to me and helped me feel at home in this village. I couldn't have been happier. Everything was great, wasn't it?
ケイちゃん、そんなのって。
Mion seemed like she didn't know what to say. Her eyes looked moist. It was hard to believe she was really acting like this. It wasn't even like Mion at all. I could feel her pain. She was in pain because she didn't know what I was blaming her for. She looked so sad, but I didn't notice her pain. I thought I was her friend. I didn't understand her feelings. I didn't trust her. I just used the word friends, but I didn't do anything like what friends were supposed to do.
そうだった。俺はクズだったんだ。 ミオンはミオンだったんだ。俺の最高の仲間だったんじゃないか。
Rena feels real bad right now.
どうしてミオンを疑っちまったんだ。どうして。
ケイちゃんさ、最近元気ないよね。
都会から引っ越してきたんだもん。きっと今頃になって疲れが出てきたんだよ。それで風邪をひいたんじゃないかな。
How is he remembering this? This is not a scene we've ever seen yet.
そっかそっか。じゃあ栄養をつけさせてあげないとね。バッチャが今日おはぎを作ってるんだよ。いくつか分けてもらってケイちゃんへのお見舞いにでもしてあげるか。
ほんなみよ。
Oh no, it's Oreo, the grandma.
おいや、レナちゃん、一つやってるんかい。
へえ、おはぎ作りって面白そうですね。レナも一つだけ作らせてもらおうかな。よいしょよいしょ。
そうだそうだ、いいこと思いついたよ。
なにみーちゃん。あ、その小瓶何かな。
甘いおはぎだけじゃ退屈しちゃうだろうからね。うち一つにはクリティカルヒットでタバスコを混ぜておいてあげよう。
What is going on? When did this take place? That's right. That's what happened. They brought ohagi for me to help me get better. They only tried to cheer me up. Why did I get so scared of them? Just because Mio knew I had lunch at Angel Mort, I grew terrified of her.
ケイチくん、顔色悪いよ。もう横になった方がいいと思うな。
Wait, no, in chapter 1, there was the needle in our lunch.
そうだね。私たちはもう帰ろう。
They just wanted to cheer me up with a joke. But because I looked so serious,
じゃあね、ケイちゃん。
please get better soon. I hope we can hang out in the club together tomorrow. That was a normal way of saying goodbye.
明日学校休んじゃ嫌だよ。
First of all, have I ever visited any of my classmates who were absent with a cold? Yeah, Mio reproached him with very creepy eyes. Although I do remember in that scene, I'm like, technically the words they were saying weren't creepy, but they were very, like, creepy in the way they were delivering it with, like, the lizard eyes, like, we don't want you to be late to school tomorrow, Keiji. What is going on here? No, I haven't. I've never done such a nice thing to anybody, because it's too much of a bother. But they did that for me. I understand visiting a friend in a hospital, but I just caught a cold. But they came to visit me with ohagi so I could get better soon. I should have been thankful to them and said I'll get better soon. And I'm sure I can come to school tomorrow. But this is after they were uber creepy to him. So I'll see you then. That's what I was supposed to say. But what did I do instead? I locked the door. I closed the door and locked it as if rejecting them. What was I so scared of? What was I so afraid of? Why didn't I say any words of appreciation to my friends who cared about me? I was just so scared of the ohagi they brought for me. What was I thinking? It was impossible that there was a needle in one of them, but there was! You literally took it out! There wasn't actually a needle at all. It was all in my head because I read some manga about someone putting needles or razor blades in people's foot. You literally held the needle in your hands. This doesn't make sense. It scared me so much that I believed it could also happen to me for some reason. And I thought there was a needle in the ohagi, but there was! You were so stupid, Keiichi. Why would your friends put a needle in the food if they only brought you to make you feel better? I was crazy to think like that. Even if there was a needle in one of them, I should have thought it was some kind of mistake, and I should have believed in my friend's innocence. That's what a true friend would do. But what did I do? Pound, splatter, smash. Okay, I threw the ohagi that they spent so much effort making on the floor. Why? Why did I do that? Because needle was in it. I got along so well with them. I moved to Hinamizawa and I made friends for the first time in my life. They were my best friends. Meeting them was the most wonderful experience of my life. I'd probably never have another one like that for the rest of my days. I knew that, but I got scared and I doubted them. They noticed that I was acting odd. That's why they called the manager Eerie. They thought a sedative might help me relax so I could rest and get better. That's why they carried me up to my room. Mion just wanted to make it fun. She's the kind of person who expresses her goodwill by making a joke out of it. I knew that better than anybody. She knew Eri would roll up my shirt to check my heartbeat with a stethoscope. So she was just trying to draw graffiti on my shirt like she did to Tomatake-san as punishment for the game he lost. Yes, that's why Mion took a felt marker out of her pocket. A felt marker. She brought a marker from home because she wanted to do something funny. She tried to cheer me up by making me take a punishment for fun rather than nursing me, because that's just what Mion is like. She went to the trouble of bringing a felt marker to my house, just because she wanted to cheer me up. Rena held me down tightly, and Mion came closer to me to write something on my shirt. Mion whispered the words she was going to write on my shirt. I heard them. I heard them clearly. I heard what she was going to write on my shirt. I hope you get well soon, Mion. I heard them. Then why? I should have known she wasn't going to do anything to hurt me. Then why? Why? Why did the marker look like a syringe to me? Didn't they also say we're injecting you with the drugs that killed Tomatake? You can't hallucinate that. This doesn't make sense. Why did I think that Mion was going to kill me? It was impossible. It was impossible. But she did. Why did I misunderstand that Mion was going to kill me? It's not just like I couldn't see it, so it looked like a syringe. I distinctly remember that she said, like, yep, we're going to inject you with the drugs that killed Tomatake. Oh, he hallucinated that too. That doesn't make sense. That's not how hallucinations work. The numbness in my head receded, and slowly I felt blood start to run through my entire body again. How long was I squatting down there? For a few minutes? Or a lot longer than that? As I looked up at the clock, my hands weren't moving at all, as if they had stopped when I had my eyes closed. Really? The atmosphere in the room wasn't filled with insanity like it was earlier, but it was quiet and gray. Rena wasn't holding me down, and Mion wasn't about to give me an injection. Was all of that just some kind of illusion? You would have to hallucinate, like, visually and audially, and, like, in literally every single way. I don't see how that's possible. There was no sense of presence other than myself in that room. Also, Rena still, like, creepily listened in on our phone call, and she still admitted to stalking us, and she still tried to break into our house. And she still chased us around the construction site with a hatchet while laughing insanely. So this doesn't explain any of that. It was an extraordinary experience, the kind I'd never had before. I was there, with Rena and Mion. I doubted my sanity for a moment, but at the same time, I felt some kind of relief, too. The scary incident was just an illusion, after all. Neither Rena nor Mion would have done such a terrible thing to me. Tears started forming in my eyes. My emotions were running high. Why? It wasn't a question of why tears were forming in my eyes. Why? It was a question of my sadness. Why did I feel so sad? I don't know. I don't know. You don't know? What do you mean you don't know? What do you mean you don't know? I don't know. You do know. I was so stupid. What the hell was I doing? It was so pathetic and helpless. Mio just tried to cheer me up, that was all. I liked her so much. She was my best friend. She was older than me, but she hung out with me like we were the same age. She was the first one who came to talk to me in class. She was so nice to me. But I... Batter up! Mion was lying down in an unnatural position near the window. She was covered in dusky red blood from her head to her chest. The red fluid splattered on the wall, and it was Mion's. What had I done? What had I done? I would never forgive myself.
俺、みんなのこと、本当に友達だと思ってたんだぜ。
Why? Why did all of this happen? There was nothing fun in my life at my old school. When I talked to anyone, it was only about my chances of passing entrance exams of the school that we wanted to go to. My life was shaded in gray. Friends to me were rivals and enemies to vie with for a school recommendation and test scores. My friends here taught me just how unnatural that was. This whole month was a blast. We raised the roof over lunch, our club activities, and the festival. A warm liquid flowed out of my eyes. To my surprise, it was my tears. I didn't have any obligation to cry for them, but I couldn't stop it. Even though they attempted to kill me, even though they almost killed me, I couldn't forget the memories we made during the past month. Or were those fun days fake? Was it an act that they kept playing perfectly to set me up until today? Was it only me who believed that they were my friends? It couldn't be. Rena and Mion, they were my friends for real. Those happy days couldn't have just been a performance. Rena and Mion must have been forced by somebody to kill me. Or that an extraordinary existence called Oyashiro-sama possessed them and took over their consciousnesses, no matter what it was. Both Rena and Mion were my best friends. I was stupid! I was such a fool. Such a fool. Such a fool. Such a fool. I wasn't making any sense at all. I killed my best friends! They were my best friends. Then why didn't I trust them? Why didn't I listen to them? I beat them to death. Who did I think I was? I made it sound like I didn't do anything wrong. I felt like everybody went crazy except me. I was such a fool. It was the other way around. Of course it was. I was the only one who went crazy.
ケイちゃん？
俺はなんてことをしてしまったんだよ。なんてこと。
Also, how does he remember this from chapter 1 if that was a different universe? Maybe they'll try to explain it. Mion was still alive. I have a memory of beating her to death because I couldn't trust her, but that's a memory from a non-existent different world. But even though it happened in a different world, I killed Mion, and I didn't realize how deep that sin was. I thought until now that Mion was at fault for being killed.
どうしたんですの、ケイチさん。
I don't know, Satoko.
わかんない。ケイちゃん、落ち着いて落ち着いて。私は生きてるよ。ケイちゃんになんか殴り殺されてたまらかっての。
I'm not sure you're in much control over that.
ねえ。
そうですわよ。ケイチさんごときに遅れを取るようなのは我が部にはおりませんでした
Ooh,
よ。
I want to see Rika's reaction to this, because if Rika's supposed to be the only one who's going through these, like, all these universes, she might freak out at this point that he remembers this.
違うんだ。
Mion and Satoko looked confused, having no idea why I was crying, but I couldn't help myself. I learned just now that I could earn redemption by confessing my sin, but I could never earn redemption for this, not from Mion. No matter how much I cried in this world, nobody could give me forgiveness, and so I could never earn redemption for this sin. Right then, Shia-sensei came in and noticed me crying. You wouldn't see a teenage boy crying like that very often. Shia-sensei asked what was going on, but at that moment I couldn't hear anything. Mion and Satoko looked confused. They didn't know how to explain the situation. Reika-chan approached me in the midst of my sobs.
ケイチは覚えているのですか？
Ooh. Is it time for serious Rika in the remake?
レナとミオ殺したことを。
そうだ。俺が殺したんだ。
She's like, which time?
殺したんだ。なのに俺は何の罪も認めずに、まるで自分は被害者のつもりで死ぬ最後の瞬間まで仲間を呪って恨んで。
If you want me to believe that's how chapter 1 went, you're gonna have to do a whole lot more explaining on the other stuff that happened.
血がいっぱい出て、そして結局何の後悔もなく一人で勝手に死んだ。
I clawed up my itchy throat in a phone booth, and I didn't notice my sin, and I died alone.
ケイチ、あなたの罪に気づきましたのですか？
気づいた。こんなにも今頃になって俺は気づいたよ。思い出したんだ。ここじゃない別のよく似た世界で俺はなぜか仲間たちに疑心暗鬼を持って殺してしまったんだ。仲間たちは俺に救いの言葉をかけていたはずなんだ。なぜそれに耳を傾けられなかった？どうしてだよ。
I didn't care if people were staring. I just kept crying. I wanted to transmute my sin to tears in order to squeeze it out of me. But the tears that were coming out of my eyes weren't my sin. They were just tears of regret for doing something irreversible. At that time, I felt something touching my head. I opened my eyes and saw Rika-chan petting my head gently. I didn't need any comfort. I didn't deserve any comfort from Rika-chan. But the words she spoke to me weren't ones of comfort.
ケイチを許しましょう。ケイチは自分で自分の罪に気づきましたのです。それはとても偉くて 普通ではありえないことなのです。
What is required in order to notice something from a different timeline?
だから誰も圭一の偉さがわからなくて
What?
それを許してあげることはできませんのです。でも僕には圭一の凄さがわかるのです。
That's a weird way of putting it, Rika.
リカちゃん。
私はだって
Yeah,
これはありえない
it
ことなんだ。
seems impossible almost.
あなたが
Yeah.
でなのにそれはきっとこの地上に具現するどんな奇跡すらも霞むほどのもので信じられないくらいに
I
尊いもの。
did not understand anything Rika-chan was saying, but I felt like she's the only one who understood the impossible memory I had.
なら今のあなたにならわかるはず。リュウグウレナがどういうことになっているのか。
So what is causing the craziness?
ああ、わかるぜ。
Like, why did Keiichi go crazy in one chapter and then Rena went crazy in another chapter? I think
あの時の俺と同じなんだ。
unless they're able to find an explanation for all the other apparent things that he got wrong in his craziness, I'm still going with the theory that Keiichi, Mion, and Rena went crazy. Or at the very least, Keiichi and Rena. Maybe Mion. I still think Mion went crazy now.
仲間のことを信じたくて信じたくてしょうがないのに信じられないんだ。どんどん自分がおかしくなっていくのにそいつがわからなくて世界の方がおかしくなったって信じてやがるんだ。どうすりゃ救えるかなんてわからねえよ。わからないんだ。だって俺はダメだった。結局死ぬまで死んでも気づけなかったんだ。それをレナに気づかせるなんてどうやって。救えないよ。救えない。俺がそうだったからよくわかるんだ。どうやったってもう救えないんだ。
Calm down, Keiichi. I did fail. But that didn't mean Rena would too. There was no excuse to not save her because I thought she'd fail. After all, what did Rena do back then? I was totally going mad, but she risked her life to save me. She was psycho in Chapter 1! You can't convince me she wasn't. In my room, in that world, I had beaten her many times with a metal bat. But she was smiling. She knew I was scared, and that's why she smiled for me. Keiichi, get off the plate. You've struck out too many times. I beat her so many times. Her arms were broken and her forehead was cut open. I remembered. Rena didn't block her head, even at the very last moment. She opened her arms towards me, like she was looking for a hug. But I still doubted her, and raised the metal bat up high. Rena told me then that it was okay.
私を信じて。
Ah! My friend still told me to believe in her. She told me to trust her. But I still didn't. I lost it and attacked her. I don't remember her saying that in Chapter 1. I could be wrong, though. That was years ago. She was in danger. She was actually killed. But she didn't even block her head. Instead, she used her arms to reach out for me. Rena continued to say those words until the moment she died. Trust me. Please. Trust me. She risked her life to save me. Until her very last moments, she kept telling me to believe in her. But I didn't listen. For so long, I truly believed that I didn't do anything wrong.
リカちゃんに許してもらえて少し心が軽くなった。でもやっぱり俺の罪はレナの目は俺が覚ます。
I'm going to tell her to trust me and let her beat me with a baseball bat. Does everyone else remember these things? Probably not. Apparently only Rika. Rena risked her life to save me. She cared about me until her very last moments. She trusted me. She believed that her words would reach my heart, so she kept saying them until I cracked her skull. I don't care if I die. Rena died for me. I can die for her too. I was such a fool for failing to understand my friend's feelings. That's why I didn't understand what she was saying. But Rena might be different.
この世界はもう狂っちまった。
Keiichi describing the universe of Higurashi when they cry in one sentence.
でもだからといって 諦めていいなんてことはねえんだよな。
Keiichi describing my feelings towards Higurashi when they cried. This world is messed up, but that doesn't mean I can just quit.
諦めるってことは信じないってことだ。
Oh, and there he ruined it.
俺はレナを、仲間の絆を信じるぜ。だからまだ間に合うんだ。惨劇は回避できる。運命には抗える。俺たちはあがく、そして掴めるんだ。その先の
She's like, okay, I was sick of you interrupting me all the time, so I'm interrupting you. Rika-chan nodded with a serious look on her face, and she put her hand in the pocket of her skirt.
ケイイチ、私も
Ooh,
諦めない。
she was kind of giving up last time.
この世界から希望を失ってたまるものか。
She's like, after all, the only two people who've died have been really jerk buddy. Oh, wait, that's not true. Tomatake died.
数えきれない失敗に疲れ果ててた。
That might just be a canon event, though.
だから世界が狂い出すことに諦めを感じるようになってた。だからもうレナがどうなろうと知ったことではないと昨べ思った。でもそれは間違いだった。
Everyone's like, Rika, why are you talking like a grown woman?
戦おうとする意志がこんなにも美しく神々しくて、そして運命すらねじ曲げかねない奇跡が起こせることを知った。だから私はもう一度戦おう。何度でも戦おう。
Why does best man have to die every time? Like, because his girlfriend is horrible.
その先の未来に至れるまで。リカとケイチさんが
Satoko's like, can someone explain to me what's
さっぱり
going
わ
on?
かりませんでしたよ。覚えていないのは当然なのです。ケイチがすごいだけなのです。
Why, though? Because he's the protagonist. That doesn't make sense. Also, Satoko, it's probably for the best that you don't remember what happened in the previous timelines. Because if you did... Well, for one, she'd probably immediately go and kill Shion, like, right then and there, but, yeah.
私の高尚な脳みそではさっぱりでしたよ。
Someone mod you in to be his girlfriend. We'll see if the modders get on that. Rika-chan touched Satoko's forehead to hers.
でもいつかは思い出してあげてください。あなたが抗えぬ不幸の袋小路に囚われた時、ケイイチはあなたを救おうと全身全霊をかけて戦ってくれたこと。
I wouldn't necessarily call committing premeditated murder risking your life. Like, that's a nice way of putting it.
ケイイチさんがですの？
Yeah, and then I got pushed off a bridge.
眉唾でございますわよ。
Although Keiichi definitely went insane in chapter 3. Like, literally confirmed.
ね、ケイイチ。
Rika-chan looked at me, smiling as if waiting for my agreement. I wasn't sure if I could risk my life for Satoko. No, I was sure I'd risk my life for her. Satoko's my friend. If anybody tried to make her unhappy, I'd beat them up without hesitation. I'd risk my life to save her. There might even have been a world like that. I nodded to Rika-chan. Rika-chan nodded back to me, looking happy.
前原くん、何かありました？
Teacher is really out of the loop. Like, what the heck is happening? You know, it's okay. It's okay, best girl. Just go back to teaching. Chia-sensei realized that I'd finally calmed down, and she asked me that.
いえ、なんでもないんです。騒がせてすみませんでした。それより、ミオ。
Mion's like, what is happening?
何？
I walked towards her. Mion stepped back, not knowing what was going on. She bumped into the blackboard.
何、ケイちゃん、マジな顔でどうしたの？
I held Mion tightly. She still didn't know what was going on, and her face turned red. Crying on her shoulder, I told her the following.
すまなかった。本当にすまなかった。
She's like, darn it, I thought he was gonna kiss me.
何がよ、ケイちゃん。おじさん、本当に何のことかわかんないよ。
わかんなくてもいい。わかんなくてもいい。
Does this mean Mion has to forgive Shion for ruining her life? Oh, I hope not. That's gonna be a hard one to forgive. You're gonna have to go through a whole lot of hoop jumping if you want to get me to sympathize with Shion.
わかんなくてもいいから
I
聞いてくれ
Probably what they're gonna do is Shion's gonna have a, like, I remember doing this moment like KG, be like, I'm so sorry for doing that, and I'm gonna be like, are you though? Are you really?
本当にすまなかったそしておはぎうまかったぜ
You didn't
本当に
eat
うま
them!
かった
You said that friends don't lie to each other!
元気が出ただから俺明日からちゃんと学校に通えるからまた明日も学校で会おうなってそれが言えなくて今日まで感謝の言葉が遅れて本当にすまなかった俺はミオンをいや仲間を誰だろうと二度と疑わない二度とだ絶対にだだからミオンあの日の俺をどうか許してくれ
Mio must have no idea what I was talking about. Of course, I didn't either. I didn't understand what I was talking about. But my sin wasn't forgiven yet. I needed to confess my sin in order to receive her forgiveness.
ミオンが命を懸けてくれたことを俺は知ってるだからいつかミオンに何かの不幸が訪れたら俺は絶対に命を懸けて助けるからな絶対だ
ケイちゃんあ照れるな
Mion's face was bright red. She didn't know what was going on. Satoko was blushing too, with a confused look on her face. But Rika-chan and I understood everything. We weren't going to accept a tragedy. We couldn't give up just because the world was going out of order. We were going to fight against fate until the very last moment. Mion fought for me. Rena fought for me. That's why I was going to fight for Rena. Just like she did for me, I was going to risk my life to save her. I get the feeling this is not going to end well. The summit was being held at a traditional Japanese restaurant in Shishibone City. When a black car stopped in front of it, 3 burly cops got out of it, followed by Uisi. They were welcomed by Sonozaki Corps members in equally black suits. Black goes with everything. It was something you didn't see every day. Is that just generic narrator again?
遅刻しちゃって申し訳ないですね。
お客人、ご案内いたします。
2 of my favorite characters on screen at the same time. Let's go.
どうぞこちらへ。
There was a sign saying reserved at the entrance. Uisi and his subordinates were taken inside. They walked through the restaurant's pretentious landscaped garden and they came to the gorgeous Japanese-style entrance. Oh my gosh! It's Mrs. Sonozaki! She looking fine as always. A woman in a kimono was waiting at the entrance, as was Kasai. Upon seeing the police officers, they stopped chatting and bowed deeply. The woman in the kimono was Mion's mother, Akane.
いやどうもどうも園崎社長さん。本日はお招きをいただきありがとうございます。
ようこそいらっしゃいました。ご多忙中のはるばるのお越し、心より感謝いたします。
What is about to happen here?
いえいえ、今日はごちそうになりますよ。ここの料亭は湯葉が有名ですからね。
That sounds revolting.
どんなごちそうか楽しみです。
It sounds like Kasai agrees with me. He's like, try being curt. He's froze.
それから葛西さんもお久しぶり。
Isn't Uisi an enemy of the Sonozakis? Yeah, kind of. He's either investigating something or they're like, we have info that we want to give you. Or they're like, look, we don't like each other, but we both want to find Rena and we gotta figure this out.
直接会うのはだいぶ久しぶりになりますね。
ご無沙汰をいたしております。
まあなんかこの度はお互い戦争状態に突入しちゃってるようですが、こっちは全面戦争はいつでも大丈夫ですんで。
いえ、そのようなつもりは毛頭。
そりゃこちらもやりたかはないです。あんたが粘ると血の雨が降るって評判ですからね。
Also, I'm gonna interject there, Shirley. I don't think Kasai is second best man. I think that Akasaka is second best man. Actually, Akasaka might just be best man. Because unlike Toмотake, he has good taste in women.
私もいい年なんで、もう流血沙汰はごめんしたいところです。
Obviously, this was a meeting between people who hated each other. Okay, here we go. The tension in their words indicated that it wasn't likely to be a friendly meeting.
それではご案内いたします。どうぞこちらへ。
主催自らのご案内、痛み入りますよ。
そうそう。招待状の名前は私で出させていただきましたが、今日の主催は本家でございます。わけあって招待状の名前を変えさせていただいたことをお詫びいたします。
That's not fair. Tomotage can't control his death. True, but he can control who he dates. And even if Takano wasn't a murderer, she's still weird AF.
本家。防弾チョッキを着に戻ってもいいですかね。
Look, I'm just saying. Akasaka and Tomotage are both great dudes. Akasaka married an awesome woman and is a great dad. Tomotage is dating a weirdo. If that's the deciding factor, that's the deciding factor. Can I get the bulletproof jacket? You might want it. He's actually wearing it secretly. On the other side of the door, there were several tables, and Mion was sitting at one of them. Hi, guys! It's Mion! Since Mion was still young, her school uniform functioned as her formal dress. Still, it looked strange with both the police and the corps members in black suits.
これはどうも。
Bruh, there is no way you don't know who Mion is.
今日はお招きくださり光栄です。
本日はようこそお越しくださいました。まずはおかけになってください。
Mion politely welcomed the police, undaunted even though they were older than her parents. Mion gave Kasai a look and then he tapped on the door. The waitresses who had been waiting behind the door started bringing out drinks.
おいさん、一体これは何のつもりすかね。
さてね、まあここは舌鼓を打たせてもらいましょう。ここの湯葉は有名ですよ。
Stop talking about their dried bean curd. Let's talk about something that actually would taste good. Sorry to any of you all out there who are big fans of dried bean curd, but Artie here is not the biggest fan of beans. Unless they're green beans. Green beans, I can get behind. That was just me giving sound effects for what's actually happening. They started drinking, but the tension continued for a while. Mion made the waitresses and the other members of the Sonozaki Corps leave the room, and soon only Uisi and his subordinates, Mion, Akane, and Kasai were left in the room. Conveniently, the three characters that we have sprites for.
今日はどういうお話ですかな?
Akane nodded and began speaking.
本日は皆さんとの間に生じている誤解について解かせていただきたく、このような場を設けさせていただきました。
I mean, this game in general has great background music. Even if it's not always like catchy, it always fits the mood.
発端はとてもさまつでございます。よって、この度の件は笠井達義と竜宮レナ個人間のこと。
Man, I just knew. The fact that they like just so really quickly moved on from the, oh, I'm gonna try to get Kasai to meet with me so I can get him, and then immediately she's like, nah, I'll just kill her instead. I knew they weren't gonna just leave that plot point open.
園崎組は関与しておりません。
個人的事情って何ですかね。片木の竜宮さんと極道の葛西さんにどういう個人的な接点が生じるっていうんです？
Oh, this might put him on the track for Rina and Tepe's murders, though.
Kasai?
はい。
Yeah.
僭越ながらご説明させていただきます。
Kasai told the police officers that he happened to meet Rena at a coffee house in Okinomiya. He explained that Rena had found something he lost there and that she offered to bring it back to him.
ちょいと無理がございませんかね。
You believed that?
まあ100歩譲って落とし物の話を信じてもいいですよ。その後がちょいとおかしくないですかね。竜宮レナを探して組の若い連中が動員されてるって聞いてますよ。
それに関しましては、竜宮レナさんが遅くになっても帰宅されないのを家人が心配されていたので、繁華街で見かけていることがないかどうか若い者に聞かせたのですが、その際に手違い。
Stop taking so many pauses between your words. And, okay, that actually was a decently long piece of text, but it felt like you should have been finished by that point.
こんな割烹まで呼び出して、そのヨタ話を信じろっての？
Yeah.
あんた。うちらの商売を舐めてんの。
He's gonna be like, what did you lose? He's like, I don't know. Well, if I forgot, it must not have been very important. Uisi looked a lot more like a member of the Yakuza than the real Yakuza did. Uisi threatened them with a nasty smile, and it piled all the more tension onto the atmosphere of the room. So this is just generic Winnie the Pooh narrator here. I should try reading the narration here as the Winnie the Pooh narrator. Kumagai tried to make him stand down. Officers of hot tempers pair with others who are good at calming them down, just like how Yakuza do. Okay, we're not doing that anymore. Uisi backed off with a grin. Kumagai took over, continuing from there.
それで、園崎家さんはどうおっしゃりたいわけですか？竜宮レナと葛西辰義の個人的問題だから、民事に介入するなとおっしゃりたいわけで。
That's why they were at the top. Wait, hang on. Let me reread that. You made a small mistake. What's the small mistake?
そういうわけにはいきません。竜宮レナは警察で保護させていただきます。
We're taking her into witness protection. Mion opened her mouth for the first time in a while. I guess, is Kumagai the fourth best guy? Yeah. Actually. Yeah, I think he is the fourth best guy. I mean, the competition's a little stiff in this game, but I was like, is he actually... Kumagai's just kind of bland. But there's not really anything bad about him. There's just not anything like that amazing about him. Uisi's a bit of a sleaze at times, but Uisi also does some really good stuff, so I think that bumps him up a bit. Is the fifth... Bro. Is the fifth best male character in this really Coach? Is it really Coach? Oh, Lord. No. No, it's not. Oh, wait, no, hold on. I forgot about Rena's dad. Rena's dad is higher up here. Although I know he did slap Rena when she was young, but that was not great. That was his biggest mistake. And he also has bad taste in women. But, oh, okay. Maybe I'll have to rank the characters later on. Kumagai's just there. He's not good or bad. Is Teppei the 26th best guy or what? I don't think there are 26 guys in this game that are male. Teppei is at the bottom, for sure. Like, no question. Teppei is the worst male character. Shion's the worst female character. Like, that's how it goes. I stand by that.
警察は竜宮レナを保護なさる理由をお聞かせください。
Potentially subject to change. I highly doubt it, though.
そりゃ決まってるじゃないかよ。あんたらが狙ってるからだよ。
Uisi answered bluntly, but Mion remained nonchalant. That must have made him all the more annoyed. This is...
どうして東方が竜宮レナを
Uisi right
狙っていると
now.
思う
Does this look like
で
the face of mercy to you?
そりゃあんたの胸に聞きゃいいだろう。ご自分のその胸に。
大石さん、本日は皆さんの誤解を解くための会合
Don't say
です。
stuff like that, Uisi.
もちろん耳を貸されないのもまたご自由かとは存じますが。
Stop taking like 3-second pauses between your sentences.
竜宮レナの持っている高野美代のスクラップ帳について
Yeah, I want
あ
to
る
know more
重大
about
な誤
this.
解をされております。
I want to know more about why you guys want this. The officer's expressions grew stern all at once. All of a sudden, she had gotten straight to the point.
竜宮レナの保護は彼女が高野美代のスクラップ帳を持っているから。なの
Stop taking 3-second pauses between your voice clips! Uisi and his subordinates glared back at her without saying a word, making it obvious that her guess was right.
葛西
Akane gave him a look and he left the room. However, he shortly returned, carrying a black suitcase. I brought the big gun. Every one of the officers assumed that there was a tremendous amount of money in the suitcase and that the Sonozaki family was trying to buy them off. Kasai opened the suitcase and showed the contents to the police. Huh? Hold up. What is going on here?
高野美代のスクラップ帳です。
What?
残念ながら、竜宮レナに手渡したと思われるものは含まれておりません。
Oh, what is happening now?
これを本日の魚に致そうかと思います。
中身を拝見させていただいても構いません
So
が
are these the other ones that Rena doesn't have? Or did Rena get fake scrapbooks? Or is this again? Takano just changes the story every time. So she's got like multiple different scrapbooks that all say something different about its past.
どうぞ。
Takano's like, so actually the history of Hinamizawa is kind of a multiple choice option.
お話はそれを読んでいただいた後で構いません。必要でしたら人払いもさせましょう。
いえ、それには及びません。
The cops produced latex gloves from their pockets, put them on, and took one of the scrapbooks out of the suitcase. There were more than 10 of them in there.
それらは高野美代の死亡の際に沖宮の自宅から発見したものです。
Uesi and the others desperately turned the pages of the well-thumbed scrapbooks.
これ
Takano's
間違い
scrapbooks
な
are the
く
magic.
高野美代のなんでしょうね。
Then how does that explain Keiichi in Chapter 1? He didn't read those scrapbooks.
間違いありません。
おいさ、もしこれらに類するものを竜宮レナが持っているとするなら、
おそらくは竜宮レナが持つスクラップ帳もそれらに類する内容
They're
で
a
しょう。
Death Note? See, I don't get that reference because I haven't seen Death Note. I think the general premise, though, is that it's a note. You write a person's name on it, and they die. Hence, Death Note. Uesi looked stunned by the contents of the scrapbooks. He started turning the pages faster and then closed the scrapbook roughly.
ここにあるスクラップ帳、全部がこんな中身なんですか？
Is Takano literally just chaotic evil?
そうですよ。納得ゆくまでご覧ください。
Or chaotic neutral? The other officers also rapidly turned through pages. They weren't reading them, just flipping through. They took one scrapbook from the suitcase after another and flipped through the pages roughly.
おいさ、こんなのめちゃくちゃです。たちの悪いオカルト小説ですよ。冥界と現世が激突して霊魂が流入した？
She literally just is like, haha, I have, it is multiple choice.
これを証拠として採用しろって言うんすか？
ああ、そっちは冥界の仕業なんだ。俺のは地底人の仕業って書いてあるよ。
This one is about classified weapons of the Nazis. This one is about the legacy of the Mu continent. This one's about Aussie, the mysterious creature in the Orikafuchi swamp. This one's about
おそら
Shrek.
く竜宮レナが持つスクラップ帳には皆さんもよくご存知の寄生虫説が記されてるのだろうと察
Does
します。
Takano just meet people, try to hit it off, and be like, pinpoint what they're like paranoid about? It's like, I have the perfect scrapbook for you, just to make them freak out? What is going on? The police were dumbfounded. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. The other officers were shooting glances at Uesi. They hadn't said anything to him, but they never really believed in the story of the parasite, let alone the bioterrorism. But Uesi had believed it, and he told them he had proof. None of the scrapbooks in front of them said anything about parasites, but it was easy to assume the contents of one scrapbook were no different in nature from another. In other words, all of them were just crappy occult novels. He's like, oh man, do I feel stupid? Uesi appeared unable to accept the fact that was facing him. But now that he was actually looking at them, it was too difficult to ignore. Mio Takano was an occult geek who had laughable ideas about the legend of Onigafuchi. But Rena took them seriously, and so had Uesi. The other officers no longer stopped themselves from laughing at the ridiculous scrapbooks. Uesi glared at them, and they stopped laughing. The main reason Uesi took the story of the parasite seriously because the Sonozaki family was apparently after Rena Ryugu for the scrapbook she had. Plus, Takano, the owner of the scrapbooks, was killed. Because of those two reasons, he believed in that occult bee novel. Uisi was frustrated without a doubt. He has to accept that he was wrong. Ouija? Oh boy, it's a Mario and Luigi was out to Hinabizawa. Uisi was eager for any information that he could help them solve the series of the mysterious deaths of Hinamizawa before he retired. A combination of a number of factors made Takano's ridiculous theory become highly credible to him. He's like, oh, this is not in my top 10 favorite nights of all time.
高野美代はどうして？
高野美代についても富武二郎についても
I
当家では一
knew...
切関知しておりません。
そりゃそう言うだろうな。自分のことを嘘つきという嘘つきがこの世にいるわけはない。
If they did, that would be a paradox.
あらあら大石さん、当家で始末したなら死体が出るとお思いで。
What? Why would you bring that up? Mion wore a cold smile. She had said too much. Akane cleared her throat as if to condemn the statement, and that made Mion shut her mouth. Uisi glared at the young successor. But he knew she was right.
じゃあ、竜宮レナをなんで追ってるんだよ。
Are they just worried about her?
初めから追っていないと申し上げております。確かにそう見えてしまう誤解が生じたことはこちらのミスです。その点につきましては、Stop
taking 3-second pauses between your sentences. The reasons which made Uisi take Rena's delusions seriously collapsed one by one. Mion and Akane looked at each other. They must have decided to let Akane speak. She did so firmly.
当家からのお願いを申し上げさせてい
Does
た
this
だきま
woman
す。
only have like one sprite?
当家ではこのような世まいごとの内容に踊らされて警察とことを交えるのは望むところではありません。
Akane, it's like, this is what she looks like when she's happy. This is what she looks like when she's sad. Same thing. This is what she looks like when she's furious. Same picture. This is what she looks like when she learned that both of her daughters were murdered horribly. Same picture.
伝え聞くところでは県警防対本部の三海氏が公安部と調整をされていると聞いております。
This is her sprite when her daughter is forced to rip her fingernails off in a gruesome manner right in front of her and is begging for mercy.
何かのさまつな口実をきっかけに当家に関連するすべてに対し一斉捜査を入れられるおつもりとか。
That had been at Uisi's request. Uisi took Rena's story very seriously, and he wanted to find the research facility that was developing the parasite. He was intending to use it as proof of the potential bioterrorist attack. But as he had no idea where to start looking, he tried to conduct simultaneous raids on all the facilities the Sonozaki family owned in the entire prefecture, in cooperation with the task force for gang groups and public safety. Normally, the circumstantial evidence he had wouldn't be enough to get their cooperation. In fact, public safety doubted Uisi's source since because they hadn't heard of any potential terrorist attacks. They trusted their information network. But Uisi took advantage of his long career and his old friends, and he managed to get them to cooperate. Uisi's face broke out in a nervous sweat. Needless to say, he realized he was completely wrong.
当家もダム戦争の当時はいろいろとご迷惑をおかけいたしましたが、すでに昭和も60年代を前にし、時代の移り変わりを感じております。そんな中、当家もまた弱きを助け、強きをくじく任教団体でありながらも、時代に即した平和的な路線を模索しているところです。
We're trying to achieve peace and stability. That's why we kidnapped the minister's son and also threw bricks at people.
そんな中、
And you know,
警
our
察の
Yakuza
一斉
group.
捜査を頂戴しては、手前どもの面目が丸つぶれでござい
I
ます。
also love how she just flat out admits to being a Yakuza group right in front of the police.
あんたんとこの面目なんて知ったことじゃないよ。叩きゃ誇りが出るんだ。一斉捜査は決行しますよ。
You know what he's gonna find? He's gonna find the remains of Rina and Tepe.
誇りが出れば結構ではございますが、出なかった場合、いくら大石さんといえど、決して軽んじれない責任問題に発展するかと存じますが。
上等だよ。牛と全面戦争するか？
それをお望みでしたら、どうかお気が済むようお仕事をなされてくださいませ。当家はいつでも受けて立ちますので。
Akane Sonozaki didn't betray Uisi's expectations. Although her right to become the successor was taken away, Akane had been through a lot more than Mion. Uisi couldn't back out now, but he knew it was a fight he probably couldn't win. Kumagai butted in and tried to calm him down.
一斉捜査を控えることに対する見返りは？
Mion answered this time.
双方の友好の証としてそのスクラップ帳を皆さんに献上いたします。
How generous.
そのスクラップ帳があればまだ高野美代を出しに矛先を引っ込めることもできましょう。
These scrapbooks proved how ridiculous Mio Takano's theory was. Takano was dead anyway. Uisi could show people these scrapbooks and say he was fooled. He could still pretend the whole raid thing never happened. He might have to take responsibility for it, but if he didn't back off now, there'd be no doubt he'd face a hopeless mess. If he was going to back off, it was now or never. The administrative staff at his station weren't exactly fond of him. If he made a huge mistake right before his retirement, people who'd been looking for a chance at revenge could cut his pension with glee. His pension was decided by multiplying his base salary by a certain number. If they cut his base salary, there was no way he could avoid a big reduction.
おいさん。
He decided to back off. It was hard for him to admit his mistakes at his... Let's try that again. It was hard for him to admit mistakes at his age. He grimaced with anger. I'm willing to bet that was another place where we probably had a choice if we turned them on. It would be like, no, I'm gonna go forward. And then he died. And...
あとはクマちゃんに任すわ。ちょっと飲みすぎちゃったみたいです。私はちょいと縁側で夜風に当たってきます。失礼。
Uisi stood up quickly and left the room, making a lot of noise as he walked. Kasai closed the door Uisi left open. The room was filled with silence again. At that point, Kumagai opened his mouth.
園崎家さんの言い分は了解いたしました。警察としても一斉捜査が及ぼす各業界への影響は本意ではなく、よって市内の平穏を維持するため、今後とも警察と園崎家で連携していくことを確認したいと思います。よってこの度の一斉捜査は見送らせていただきます。
ありがとうございます。園崎家当主お領に代わりまして深く御礼申し上げます。
約束に従い、このスクラップ帳は警察でお預かりします。それから条件が2つ。
賜ります。
1点目は、この場にないスクラップ帳を園崎家が入手した場合、速やかに警察に提出すること。2点目は、リュウグウレナの身柄を確保した場合、速やかにその身柄を警察に引き渡すこと。
Define immediately.
2点目は認められません。リュウグウレナは妄想に取りつかれた一少女に過ぎません。当家で速やかに身柄を確保した上で、しかるべき治療を受けられる医療機関を手配します。
Yeah, the chapter 3 ending is the most nonsense ending out of all of them. Wait, hold on. Uisi died in the chapter 3 ending? Is that actually true? Because if that's the case, then that means chapter 3 and chapter 4 actually are different timelines. Which makes it even weirder that the gas leak thing also still happened in chapter 4. Oh my gosh.
これは当人の権利でもあります。
その点につきましては当方も主張を引けません。当方には高野殺しを含めてリュウグウレナに尋問する権利があります。重要参考人としてです。容疑者としてではありません。
Akane whispered to Mion. Mion in turn nodded and began to speak.
わかりました。2点目の条件を了承します。ただし、当方からも条件を追加します。
Uisi went missing after Keiichi wanted him dead. I don't remember that part.
リュウグウレナの権利保全のため、当家から弁護士を派遣します。
Although if he just went missing, that doesn't mean he died, which means it could still be in the same timeline as chapter 4.
リュウグウレナへの尋問はすべて弁護士立ち会いのもとで行うこと。
Oh boy, she gets Phoenix right!
了解しました。ただし、一点確認を。園崎家からの弁護士が意図的に派遣されないことによる妨害は認めません。
Hey Liz, welcome. You're at the sin part? Did I forget that Keiichi never found the needle when he was trying to find it for Uisi? No, I do remember that part, but I also distinctly remember that he literally pulled the needle out and was holding it in his hands. Meaning that he physically felt it. He didn't just see it, he physically felt it. So it being a hallucination doesn't make much sense to me. And that also still doesn't explain how Rena legitimately acted insane during that chapter with, like, her literally stalking him and admitting to it, trying to break into his house, laughing insanely, and chasing him with a hatchet. That's what I'm saying. They still have to explain all that.
警察はリュウグウレナの身柄を確保した後、直ちに尋問を開始します。
当家も問題ありません。ただし、リュウグウレナの身柄確保時には直ちに当家へ連絡をすること。
可能な限り早く連絡するようにいたします。
Notice how Grandma Oreo's not here. She's just like, I just want to sleep. How can I cut in?
尋問をあらかた終えてから電話されても困ります。身柄を確保した時点でご連絡。ここいらは互いを信頼した上での善意の取り決めでございます。
Oh, you don't want to mess with Akane. She's absolutely furious right now, can't you see?
どうか保護にされることがないようよろしくお願い申し上げます。
This actually isn't their mom. This is a cardboard cutout with a speaker at the mouth level.
わかりました。双方による善意の取り決めです。遵守に誠心誠意努力いたします。
Akane and Kumagai glared at each other for a moment. Yes, look at her glare. Surprisingly, Kumagai was very calm. He was always in the shadow of Uisi, who was loud and noisy, but he had as much guts as his superior did. Uisi was good at taking care of matters in a rough and threatening kind of way, but Kumagai was good at negotiations like this. The meeting ended, and the police stood up from their seats. The tension in the room had finally ceased. Kasai put the scrapbooks back in the suitcase and handed it to Kumagai. Kumagai looked at Kasai, nodded lightly, and took what was offered him.
イタリー製の最高級カバンです。今日のお土産に含まれますので、どうかお持ちになってくださいませ。
How wonderful.
いえ、お約束ではスクラップ帳のみをお預かりすることになっております。カバンは後日、園崎組事務所へお返しに伺わせていただきます。それでは失礼します。園崎家当主お涼さんにもどうかよろしくお伝えください。
Tell Oreo I love her cookies. The officers left after bowing to Mion. After making sure that the police had left the hallway, Mion sighed heavily and finally let go of her tension. She spread her feet on the floor, flapping the rim of her skirt.
いやー、肩が凝っちゃったよ。お母さんがやってくれればよかったのに。
バカだね。あんたの方が肩書きが上なんだよ。
Don't be silly, Mion. You know I'm just a cardboard cutout.
こういうのは年じゃなくて肩書きなの。葛西、中井に行ってビールでも持ってこさせて。
Uh-oh. Beer me.
あと外の若いのも呼び入れて何か冷たいのを振る舞ってやりな。
Yeah, you gotta look after the Goombas too.
ビールだけでよろしいですか?
Only beer? Oh, no, put the little extra something in it.
ああ、この子はダメ。オレンジジュースでも頼みな。
I just want water.
子供扱いして。肩書きが上でも全然大人扱いしてもらってないよ。
いくつになってもでっかい子供だよ。それはそうと今回の一件、お父さんがだいぶ手回ししてくれてるんだよ。よーく感謝しときな。葛西もね。あんたも肩着と会うときはもうちょい気を利かせな。
みっともない限りです。
しかしさ、
Oh, she's not a cardboard cutout.
大石をコケにするとはレナちゃんもやるじゃない。あんたの友達はつくづく大物が多いね。今度ぜひ母さんにも紹介してよ。
Okay, I'm wrong. Akane is actually real. She moved her mouth. Either that or they got an animatronic.
お芝居でも一緒に見に行きたいね。
No, I didn't mean it just one beer. I meant just one beer for you. You drink a lot.
葛西、今度レナちゃんに会ったらぜひそう伝えておいてよ。その時また物騒な話を吹き込むんじゃないよ。
もちろん分かってます、姉さん。
That's the most emotion that Akane's ever shown, even since her wedding day. Rena was talking about Oyashiro-sama and forgiveness when following Keiji. She was also chasing him with a hatchet and screaming bloody murder. You can simply explain it as her following it because he acted like Satoshi and the hatchet was for self-defense as Keiji started walking with a bat. She was also laughing evilly and actively chasing him and swinging it. With that, they successfully dispelled the magical power of Takano's scrapbooks. The whole mess shouldn't grow any larger. The only remaining problem was Rena. Where could she be hiding? Where's Rena? A search and find book. Courtesy of Higurashi when they cry. Uh-oh, we didn't get any tips. Oh, this might end up being a much longer stream than I thought it would be. Before I went to bed, I headed to my window to close the curtain. I saw the shadow of a person near the porch. Who could be out so late? Well, I didn't have to take a guess who it was. There was only one person I knew who might come to see me this late. I opened the window and looked more carefully this time. I was right. It was Rena. She was just standing still under the light. I wondered how long she'd been there for. It didn't look like she was going to ring the doorbell. She was just standing there. She seemed to be asking herself whether to ring the doorbell or not. For how long had she been hesitating in front of my door? It looked like even standing was giving her a hard time. She looked very tired. I ran down the stairs, put my sandals on, and rushed out of the house. Rena looked surprised to see me, even though I came out after making a lot of noise.
Rena!
What? This is giving me Chapter 2 ending flashbacks. Where Keiichi's being a massive idiot. Just less so this time. She looked relieved to see me for a moment, but then she soon glanced downward and looked sad again.
お前、いつからここに突っ立ってたんだよ。
わかんない。夕方、ちょっと過ぎくらいからだったと思う。
Keiichi, can I live with you for a bit? I'm homeless. Rena must have been staying somewhere outside for the last 2 days at the very least. And it wasn't like she'd been camping for fun. She'd been in a state of high tension the whole time, believing that someone was trying to kill her. Rena looked utterly exhausted. She seemed to have taken care of the deep scratch she made on her neck the other day with some large band-aids. The band-aids had cute pictures, but that only made the wound on her neck look more painful. I saw some band-aids soaked with blood on her arms and body too, and I could tell that she made them for herself. She had more scars than she had last night.
とにかく中に入ろう。この2日間、ろくなものを食べてないんだろ。
When I tried to take her in the house, she refused with a vague expression on her face. It wasn't that she didn't want to go in the house. It was more like she had to refuse because she thought she didn't deserve it.
もうね、ダメなの。今のこの瞬間も、私の全身の中でウジ虫がうごめいてて、かゆくて、かゆくて、溢れ出しそうなの。
So ask yourself, Rena, why is that if it's only supposed to work when you're not in Hinamizawa?
なあ、レナ。多分それは何かの病気なんだ。とりあえず今夜は俺の家で休んで、明日の朝一番で監督の診療所へ行ってみないか。監督ならレナの微妙な立場を分かってくれるから、誰にも内緒で診察してくれるよ。
Did he even mention? No, he didn't mention Coach. He just implied it, I guess.
もうダメ。
I'm not going to his clinic.
自分でもわかるんだよ。富武さんがどういう最後を遂げたか。私は必死にそれを我慢しているだけ。
Rena believed she was given some kind of a suspicious drug that made her clot the neck to death just like Tomitake-san did. How does that explain Keiichi in Chapter 1? Because then he also did that, but he didn't get the syringe. And apparently there was no syringe in the first place, so that makes even less sense. I thought maybe he accidentally pricked himself. But no. So wow. She had convinced herself that it was going to happen. She wouldn't hear anything else right now. But she really wanted somebody to help her. She wanted help, but when somebody tried to give her a hand, it looked like the hand of the devil. If this was some kind of a disease, what a horribly depressing disease it was.
私ね、どういう最後になるかわからないけど、多分もうそんなに長くないと思うの。
I'm shocked at how calm Rena is being during all of this, considering how she acted in some other chapters.
そんなことねえさ。無敵の部活メンバーリュウグウレナがそんな程度でくたばるかよ。
ありがとう。それでね、死んじゃう前に圭一君にどうしても謝りたかったの。
謝る？何をだよ。
私昨日すごくいけないことを言って圭一君を傷つけた。
She must be talking about last night. She trusted me. But when Uisi-san told her about my past, she felt betrayed. And after that, everything I did out of goodwill seemed like the opposite to her. I know what it's like. I once felt the same way about you, Rena.
私もね、昔引っ越してくる前、とても悪いことをしていた。 いっぱい。
そうか。そうなんだ。
圭一君みたいにおもちゃの鉄砲で撃つのなんかと比べ物にならないよ。金属バットで頭が割れちゃうくらいに殴った。
Whose head?
みんな大怪我だった。
I know you broke the windows at school. I didn't know you hit someone with the head.
他にもね、学校のガラスとかいっぱい割って歩いたり、それからね。
I know. But I don't care about any of that. You did that because before you moved here. That's why you stopped being Reina Ryugu and became Rena after you moved here, right? To me, you're my best friend who's very kind, thoughtful, and fun. That's the most important thing. I don't care who you were before.
ね、私ももっともっといっぱい悪い。圭一君のこと仲間じゃないなんていう資格。
それは俺もなんだ。俺も最初レナの過去のことを聞いて恐れた。
そっか、知ってたんだ。
Rena laughed sadly. She seemed shocked to find out that I knew about her history when she thought I didn't.
でもだからなんだよって思ったぜ。
You weren't like, so what though? That's maybe what sparked your paranoia.
引っ越してくる前にレナがどんな大悪党だとしたって、それでレナはいろいろと泣いたり笑ったりしながら人生を積み重ねてきて、それでひなみ沢に引っ越してきて誰にも恥じなくていい生活をしてるじゃねえかよ。前の町で悪いことがあったとしたってレナはそれを悔いているならどうでもいいことだったんだよ。
Do I have to replay the second half of chapter 1 again just to see it from the different perspective and try to figure it out? Because it was a long time ago. I probably shouldn't, but...
その結果竜宮レナってやつが尊敬できる人間に成長できたならどうでもいいことだったんだよ。
I should have noticed it earlier. Rena is Rena. That's why she's Rena Ryugu. I couldn't understand that simple thing when she said she wasn't Reina.
レナも聞いたろ。俺も悪いやつだった。バカだったんだ。なんてバカなことをしたんだと後悔した。だから引っ越しは人生をもう一度やり直すいい機会だと思ったんだ。だから俺はひなみ沢では自分で自分が好きになれる前原圭一だったと思ってる。それはレナもなんだろ。茨城でどういう生活だったかなんて関係ない。ひなみ沢にいる竜宮レナが大事なんだ。だから竜宮レイナが何者だろうと俺には全然関係ないことだったんだ。
そうだよね。
新しい自分をやり直せる機会は何回あったっていいんだ。
Don't you get it? We're video game protagonists. Every new chapter, it's a new life. We have a lot of new starts.
そんな機会があるから俺たちは何回も失敗しながら傷つきながら人生に一度や二度のつまずきなんてつきものなんだ。だからそんなのにへこたれないで俺たちはどんどん成長していかなくちゃいけないんだ。だからそんなたくましい人の膝に残るかさぶたを見ておぞましく思うなんて最低のことだったんだよ。
It doesn't matter how many times you fall. When you go through a lot of pain, you can be kinder to others. So I don't need to know your past. And even if I knew, it shouldn't have changed the way I treated you. But we were fools. We couldn't understand that until we went through things like this ourselves. Mio knew that from the beginning. We were such fools. We hurt each other and we made each other cry.
だから竜宮レナはこれまでも今もそしてこれからも
Wonder what...
いつまでも俺の最高の仲間だ。
If Keiichi X Rena is not the canon pairing, then whoever Keiichi does marry is going to feel real bad about reading this sentence.
レナが辛い時きっと俺が助けるから俺を信じてくれ。
ありがとう。圭一君を信じるよ。
It's very tragic, but what she said isn't true. She probably didn't mean to lie, but I knew she didn't trust me from the bottom of her heart. My words didn't reach her. I knew that because Rena kept telling me to trust her that time. She kept saying those words while I kept hitting her with the bat, but they still didn't reach me.
私ね、もう多分長くない命だと思うけど、 こんな素敵な圭一くんがいるひなみ沢を救うために頑張るよ。
Yeah, they are. Again, they've been laid on the KGX Rena stuff a lot thicker in this chapter than in the previous ones. I know chapter 2 there was a lot more KGX Mion, which I'm sure people have difference of opinions of. Right now I'm leaning more towards Rena as his more compatible pairing. I also could be team, hey, Keiichi probably marries somebody else. Because, you know, you don't always marry your friends in high school, right? I hope not, otherwise I have no chance. No, Rena.
奴らなんかにこの村を乗っ取らせない。みんなで楽しく過ごしていた日々を取り戻すために私は戦うよ。
What are you planning, girl?
奴らの陰謀を必ずやっつけてみせるから。
She said that she trusted me, but she didn't understand anything I was saying. Even if I kept telling her that the conspiracy was Takano-san's delusion, it still wouldn't reach her.
ありがとう、圭一くん。レナを許してくれて。
I do forgive you. So, please forgive me what I did to you.
きっとひなみ沢を救う。だから圭一くん、力を貸して。圭一くんだけは信じられる。圭一くんとなら救えると思ってる。
レナ
I knew how bad of a corner Rena was driven into. If I was her, I'd be walking around with a baseball bat thinking every single person around me was my enemy. Rena cared about me so much, but I saw her as my worst enemy. But Rena, you still trust me, even when you're driven into this bad of a corner. I couldn't understand what you were saying. I beat you to death while you kept telling me to trust you. But you're different. You still trust me? You are so...
どうして泣いてるの？
許してくれ。許してくれ。俺はもう絶対にレナを裏切らないから。レナのことを信じるから。だから許してくれ。
何のことを言ってるのかよくわかんない。
Keiichi, this has been happening a lot lately.
圭一くんはいつもレナのことを信じてくれてるよ。だからレナも信じていいんだよね。圭一くんだけはレナを信じてくれるんだよね。
Tears fell from my eyes. I sobbed and nodded again and again to answer her. Tears welled up in Rena's eyes too. Before I knew it, they were putting our foreheads together with tears in our eyes. Or we were, not they were.
あ
Them!
のね、私ね、この戦いを終わらせる方法を見つけたの。
Rena's like, I'm gonna go to the moon. What?
本当か？
うん、勝ち目のほとんどない方法だけど、私にできる一番の抵抗だと思う。
レナ、それがどんな方法かは知らないけど、それが終わった後、俺たちはみんなでまた楽しかった元の日々に戻れるんだよな。
We just have to destroy the dam and let the village get flooded.
戻れるんだよな。そうじゃなくちゃ嫌だ。俺はお前をこの場から行かせない。
大丈夫だよ、圭一くん。元の幸せな日々に戻るための起死回生、逆転の最後の一手なんだから。
I don't know what she had on her mind. It began with a delusion, and it'd end with a delusion. If I encouraged her too much, she'd twist it into an attack on her. I was like that at the time. I took Rena's goodwill as the complete opposite thing. So I stopped denying her story. This was Rena's battle. It was her lonely battle. She had to fight against her own delusion. The more we tried to help her, the more we drove her into a corner. But I would always be there for her. Whenever she needed help, she could reach me. I wanted to let her know that, so I said just one thing.
俺は最後の瞬間までレナの味方だからな。絶対にレナの味方だからな。
Even if I told her to trust me, I knew she couldn't right now. I knew that, but I told her those words anyway. Even if she couldn't believe them, and if she tried to smash my head in, I'd say those words. I'd keep saying them until I die.
ありがとう、圭一くん。明日でね。きっと全部終わるの。
Don't go to school tomorrow,
きっ
Keiichi.
と私たちは勝つよ。そしたら またみんなで楽しく部活をしよう。
You're contradicting yourself, Rena, because you keep saying, oh, we can play around in the club together again, but you're also like, I don't have much time left. So, well, which is it?
みんなで私たちが一番楽しかった時を取り戻そう。
Although she wished to regain our happy times so badly, I couldn't get rid of the darkness that controlled her mind.
じゃあ私はこれで行くね。
She doesn't have lizard eyes, though.
明日の準備があるから。
To tell the truth, I didn't want to let her go. I wanted to stop her even if I had to grab her arm. But I couldn't stop her like that. If I grabbed her arm, she wouldn't trust me anymore.
待てよ、レナ。明日の準備って。
内緒。
It's a secret to everybody.
圭一君に協力してもらうこともあるかもしれないけど、その時はレナを助けてね。
I just gotta get some dynamite and some gasoline and some matches. A good sturdy rope? Rena?
当然だぜ。
I nodded strongly so she could tell I was still on her side. But I didn't know what her come-from-behind victory meant at this point. The first thing I could think of was that she was going to invade the house of the Sonozaki family, which she thought was her enemy. So I called Mio to warn her after Rena left. Mio laughed bitterly and said, why does everybody want us to be the bad guys so much? But she understood the situation. Well, Mion, your family's not doing themselves a whole lot of favors when it comes to looking inconspicuous. But you do! That's the whole thing, where Grandma's like, yeah, we do all the bad stuff, when apparently you don't. So I can't believe you're surprised that people think you're the bad guys. Keiichi, hold this pipe bomb disguised as a calculator. Yes, sounds great.
本当に最後の最後まで行ったら、それも仕方ないかもな。でも、レナを信じたいんだ。
I want to believe in a buffalo.
最後のギリギリまで。あいつは、こんなに心が追い詰められても、俺をまだ信じるだけの心の強さがあるんだ。俺とは違う。だから、きっとレナは妄想に打ち勝てるはずなんだ。
最近、ケイちゃんとリカちゃんが何を言ってるのか、おじさんちょっと分かり
People
かね
just
るんだよ
brush back like past the Rika's acting really weird these days. They're just like, classic Rika.
なんか最近ヘビーなことでもあったわけ？
You could say it happened lately in a way. I killed Mion a couple of days after the festival. That was not a couple of days after the festival. That was like at least a week.
それよりレナのこと見損なったりしないでくれ。な。
そんなわけないよ。誰だってたまには心が風邪をひく時があるって。レナのこれもその程度のこと。まあちょいと熱は高いみたいだけど、すっきりケロッと治ってすぐに笑い話になっちゃうって。ケイちゃんが思ってるほど事態は悪くなってないよ。大石の大バカ野郎は自分の誤解を認めた。例の件は発生自体にも気づいてない。だからこのままレナの空騒ぎでしたってことで決着できる。
そうなのか？空騒ぎで決着できそうなのか？
そういうことで決着させんのが園崎本家次期当主のミオン様の手腕じゃないの。某料亭でね、大石とおじさんが1対1で対談してちゃんと誤解を解いて。
By the way, that restaurant looked suspiciously like your house, Mion.
大石はタジタジ。いやー、おじさんもなかなかやるね。
Mion bragged about her achievement, laughing loudly. She didn't know that Rena was going to kill her in less than 24 hours. I mean, I don't know that's going to happen, but it probably will. I could tell she was exaggerating a little. Anyway, compared to the sense of impending doom Rena seems to be feeling, the others seem to be taking it rather easy. Except Rika, who's like, it has been decided. I will die. I must get drunk. It was all up to Rena now. If she understood everything, she could go back to the peaceful world she wished for. We were waiting for her to reach out to us. Just like we did by the abandoned car at the garbage dump that day. Rena, I couldn't win. But I know you can. Because you're the one who told me to have faith until the end. So I know you can win! That didn't mean that she could literally win the last battle that she was talking about earlier, but Rena would win. She'd win and she'd regain her peaceful life. I'm gonna play the whole soundtrack during it so she won't give up. There we go. New tips unlocked last night. Oh boy. Achievement unlocked. She's just sick right now. Get the very distinct feeling that something bad is going to happen. I'm sorry. Was that achievement image a positive pregnancy test? Oh, no, it was just a band-aid. That makes more sense. Last night.
もう明日なのです。
Oh no, it's the mystery girl that lives with Rika and Satoko, but Satoko doesn't know about it apparently and literally has never appeared before and we don't even get her name.
ああ、私たちの命日。今回も同じ顛末なのです。
It doesn't have to if you know it's gonna happen.
そうかしら。よく似てるけど、いろいろと違うところもあったわ。ケイチ、前のことを覚えてたし。そんなことはありえないのです。覚えているわけ、いや、知っているわけはないのです。あんたが絶対にありえないと言ってくれればくれるほど。じゃあこれは本当に奇跡なんだって思えるわね。どうせ今回もおしまいです。おしまい。もうすぐ終わる。全部終わる。そう。日暮らしの泣く頃に。
That's the name of the game, almost. What was it all going to end anyway? The more often you throw a die, the closer the total will get to the average. When you throw a die 100 times, even if a miracle happens and you get a 6 twice or 3 times in a row, the total will average out in the end. That's a fact of statistics. But when you throw a die 100 times, the total number ranges from 100 to 600. The more you throw, the greater the likelihood that the number will converge on the average. But the truth is, the more you throw, the more possible outcomes you create. There are 500 different futures you can create by throwing a die 100 times. There are 5,000 different futures you can create by throwing a die 1,000 times. There might be one future among them that enables you to actually finish this never-ending game of dice. Keiichi showed me a miracle, and it taught me that it's not a waste of effort to keep throwing the die. Don't give in to something like an average.
イラつく背中を見せるわね。どうせ今回もダメだろうって、そういう哀愁でいっぱいよ。
Yeah, that is weird, because if the theory here is that there's a ghost that possesses her, I'd think that, and if this was the ghost, I would think the ghost would have the deep voice, and Rika would have the high-pitched one. This is weird. Yeah, is Rika literally playing the game of life? Is Rika basically like, I've never seen the movie, but there's the movie with like the guy who's playing chess with the Grim Reaper? That's kind of giving me those vibes.
私だってどうせダメだろうと思ってる。でもね、最後のサイコロを投げるまで私は諦めない。圭一が教えてくれた。今回は何かが違うの。だからそれを信じてみる。リカは本当に強いのです。まあね。
Yeah, I know, I'm
あんた
awesome.
よりはずっと若いし。
Are you referring to like your physical age, Rika? Or like you've mentioned you're like, I've been here for 100 years, like to Rena. So who the heck are you talking to?
リカ
Okay, so Toko, you are waking up. You must see this other person here, right?
こんな時間に起きてて。夜更かしはダメでございましてよ。ごめんなさいなのです。寝苦しかったので星を見ていただけなのですよ。
This is weird. Okay, hang on. Okay. Oh, wait. No, close.
もう寝ますです。そうなさいませ。おやすみ、リカ。
So Satoko doesn't notice the other person here, or the other person's like out of her sight or whatever. Okay, hang on. Okay, let's listen to this voice clip.
ごめんなさいなのです。寝苦しかったので星を見ていただけなのですよ。もう寝ますです。今回も同じ顛末なのです。
Okay, not exactly the same, but close to. It's so weird. Because I feel like this mystery voice is almost like a hybrid between Rika's normal, like, high-pitched voice and her deeper voice. These three voices are very closely related, which is so bizarre.
お休みなのです、さとこ。
Okay. I am still confused. But there are also 2 chapters left after this, so I'm going to be confused, presumably until the end. As long as I'm not confused at the end, then I think that's what really matters. Let's go. Walking with only Mion to school made me miss Rena a lot. Especially when she's in the derpy OG art style. Derp! Let's do the derpy OG art style for a little bit.
どうしたのさ、ケイちゃん。
Yeah, what's wrong? You know, I'm just not used to this.
さっきからキョロキョロしてさ。
なんでもないよ。
It was the same old path to school, but I felt nervous for some reason. I wondered what Rena meant when she said she was going to win a come from behind victory last night. I couldn't stop feeling like something dangerous was going to happen. Rena thought Mion was one of her enemies. She could be lying in wait to attack Mion with a knife.
大丈夫だって。レナがそんな短絡的なことをするわけないよ。
Rena, part of the reason Mion, part of the reason I went to the OG art style is I thought you had a gun in this art style. Oh no, she only has the gun in her casual outfit. She's not allowed to bring a gun to school.
まあ仮にそうでも自分の身くらい守れるからね。
Mion said it brightly as if trying to tell me she wasn't afraid of anything. But I couldn't be optimistic like her because I knew exactly what Rena was going through. Rena must be determined by now, and she probably wouldn't mind dying fighting against Mion if she wasn't going to win anyway. Of course, that didn't mean she was definitely going to take violent action. But I couldn't deny the possibility either.
それよりおじさんが気にかかるのはどうしてレナが急に変になっちゃったのかその
That
理
is
由のよう
weird,
だね。
because it happened to Rena, and Keiichi, and Satoko, and Keiichi, and Shion, and Keiichi. How did that happen? Was there any reason? I remembered the tragedy. I couldn't remember what made the world go crazy. But I remembered we got lost in that awfully scary world. Even Keiichi remembers Chapter 1 was the creepiest one. It started with small things, and those small things continued to pile up one after another. If you thought about it calmly, you'd laugh, because it was really a stupid thing. But once those little tiny stupid things started to bother you, you couldn't ignore them. It was that kind of a disease, if you could call it one. But there must have been a reason. There must have been a reason that made the world go crazy. But it must be such a small thing that you couldn't even notice. And unfortunately, the reason was very difficult to understand, and you wouldn't be able to figure it out until you died.
親戚にお医者がいてね、ちょっと聞いてみたんだけど、脳とかに腫瘍ができて、たまたまそれが珍しいところだったりすると、性格が急に変わったり、普段と別人みたいになってしまうことがあったりするんだって。
Falling off your horse and hitting your head and being unconscious for like an hour also does that. Just ask Henry VIII.
大昔はこの病気が悪魔つきや狐つきなんて呼ばれて、
Possessed by
オカルト的
foxes?
に脚色されてたこともあるんだってさ。
Why foxes?
ってことはつまり脳という体の一部に起きた肉体的な病気ってわけか。
今回に関しては、精神的と捉えてもいいかもしれないね。
Mion's like, huh, thumbs up, Keiichi. I'm disappointed, but this is the face Mion would make if like you told either a really dirty joke or like a really bad pun that's like not actually funny but genuinely clever. So she just like has to reluctantly give you a thumbs up while not appreciating it.
レナはリナ鉄平殺しの後かなり動揺していて、心が不安定になってた時期があった。そんな時期に大石のバカタレが富武さんたちの事件を大げさに吹き込むもんだから。
Presumably they meant Kitsune. Oh, yeah, that's true. That's fair.
大石さんって人もさ、高野さんのスクラップ帳に少し似てるとこがあるかもな。
Oh, okay. Guys, I probably should not be playing Higurashi when they cry with all the lights off in the house and the windows open and it being pitch black outside, because I swear I just saw something whiz past the window and there's nothing. I don't even know why I have the curtains open anymore, because it's too dark to see if the deer are eating my trees anyways. Also, the deer shouldn't be awake at this time anyways.
へえ、 どの辺が？
なんていうのかな、ひなみ沢村連続開始事件というものが存在しているというあたりについて盲信しているというか、現に5年連続で起こってるのにこんなことを言うのもなんだけど。
I first thought, like, is that a deer that just whizzed past the window? Are they trying to freak me out because I freaked them out earlier? Look, you can stay in my yard. You can eat most of the plants, just not my newly planted apple trees.
俺さ、
I paid a lot of money for
連
those.
続事件なんて存在しないんじゃないかって思ってる。
There is no murder in Batsing-se. It was true that the mysterious incidents happened 5 years in a row, but they were each solved individually. It was the same as a past you didn't need to talk about. Be sure to check if there aren't aliens outside. There are no aliens! Aliens are not real. As I said before, aliens being real is literally the only thing that could happen in this world that would actually surprise me. We thought of them as a series of mysterious deaths, which is why we thought something was going to happen this year too. It led us to think that there was a conspiracy, and that the Sonozaki family was behind it. We connect those things to the series of mysterious deaths, but we shouldn't do that in the first place. Just like I tried to keep my distance from Rena when I found out about her dark past. Wasn't everybody trying to keep their distance from the dark past of Hinamizawa? Takano-san's scrapbooks are a good example. She dramatized both recent incidents and old cruel history. And she made feasible stories out of them, saying that the Sonozaki family was behind it all. Oishi-san did the same thing too. He was so convinced that the Sonozaki family was behind it all that it was making him interpret things the wrong way. In that sense, we could say that Oishi-san believed the same delusion as Rena.
その辺にはさ、何かあるごとに黒幕のように振る舞う園崎家の責任もあるんじゃないかな。
Yes!
この村では何かおかしなことがあれば全て園崎家の暗躍、それで決着をつけられてしまう魔法の言葉になっちゃってるんだよ。例えて言えばほら、この世の現象は全てプラズマで説明できるみたいな感じだよ。
ほー。つまりそれは何を？
I love her squiggle mouth here.
園崎家が全部悪いってわけ？
そうだ、お前が全部悪い。よってお前の名前は今日からプラズマミオンと呼ぶ。うわ、なんだかレスラーみたいな名前だな。
はあはあ、プロレスラー大いに結構。
Oh no, Mion's really into WWE.
そうだけいちゃん、コブラツイストって知ってる？
やめろ。このクソ熱いのに絡みつくな。いててて。やー
Suplexed.
おはようございますですわ、ケイチさん。
Hi, Satoko. We gotta switch up the art style now. I can't stand Satoko in the OG art style. She's just like, that. I'm Satoko. That.
おはようなのです。
Satoko and Rika-chan looked a little sad when they saw only the two of us. If the three of us came to school together like always, they would have been really happy. But our classmates were as noisy as usual. Nobody seemed to make a big deal about Rena's absence. Chia-sensei was going to be here soon, and she'd start the morning homeroom. Everyone was fooling around as if they didn't want to miss a second of the time until then.
ねえ、今日は臭い。
You love...
窓閉めて。
Mion is your favorite character when she's not being creepy. Interesting. Mion is, I'd say, almost the most average character for me. Like, I don't really like her, but I also don't particularly dislike her. I think part of it is just the personality she always puts on I just don't particularly care for. But I do feel bad for her in a lot of senses. But I also don't feel bad for her in other senses because she's not really doing anything to change the way things are going in the Sonozaki family. Which things really, really need to change there.
バカ。窓を閉めたらもっと暑くなるんだよ。
It smelled like gasoline or something, and it really stank. It stank! Somebody from the forestry service must have been putting gasoline into the construction equipment or something. Oh, I don't know about you, but I absolutely love the smell of gasoline. Which is bad. You should not be inhaling gasoline fumes. Some students near the windows were making a fuss because they wanted to close the windows to shut out the smell. Our school wasn't a normal school compared to the others. Oh wait, no, never mind. Rena just poured gasoline into the vents and is gonna throw a lit match in there. We were just using a part of the forestry service building. Unusual things like this happen sometimes.
いやいや、こんなの大したことないって。いつだったかな。 貝塚いぶきを剪定した枝葉をトラック山盛り
If
何台
Rena's
分か
actually
運び
planning-
込んできたことがあってさ。
If Rena's actually planning something horrible for the school, you'd think she would have told Keiichi to not come to school tomorrow.
あれはひどかった。あの独特の刺激臭は頭痛を起こさせるよね。
貝塚いぶきって何ですの？お野菜の名前なのです。
Juniper's not a vegetable, is it?
たまにカレーに入ってますのですよ。
今度スーパーに行ったら探してみろ。
よくわかんないけど、最初はリカとケイイチさんに毒味をさせた方が良さそうでございますわね。
Satoko's a smart cookie.
あれ俺たちのボールがねえ。王女、お前がまた隠したんだろう。
The boys seemed to be looking for their ball for a while, and they yelled at Satoko.
誰がそんなものを隠しますの？どうせ隠すならもう少し気の利いたものを隠しましたよ。
ほらほら、先生来たよ。みんな席に着きな。はい、皆さん。
Nope, time for the remake art style. Hi, girl.
席に着いてください。
Ooh la la. I kept thinking about Rena the whole time during class. I thought about what she said last night. I wonder what her come from behind victory means. Just then, the school blew up. According to Takano-san's delusion, the masterminds behind the bioterrorism were the three families and a group of fanatical believers that controlled those three. In other words, the Sonozaki family. What could Rena do alone against them? Mion lived with her grandmother, the leader of the Sonozaki family. There were only the two of them in the house. And all the servants. It was possible that Rena would try to break into their house with a knife. But I'd already come up with that possibility last night. That's why I called Mion and warned her. On the way to school this morning, Mion told me some bodyguards from the Corps had been at her house since this morning. She told me she'd be guarded herself, too. There was a black car parked near the school gate. They must have been the bodyguards. But, according to Takano's parasite theory, the battle wouldn't end just by attacking the leader of the Sonozaki family. According to the delusion she believes in, the conditions of her victory were more complicated than that. She needed to expose the group of fanatics who were behind the Sonozaki family. And she needed to destroy the research on the parasite. Plus, Rena didn't have much time left thanks to that suspicious poison she mentioned. But how exactly could she win for a come-from-behind victory under circumstances like that? She might interpret that the town council are a group of fanatics. If so, she might attack them the next time they have a meeting at the shrine. The town council meets once a month at most. It would be hard to believe that they were holding a meeting today. How has nobody been like, you know, what happened to Rina and Teppei? In Chapter 3, as soon as Teppei went missing, everyone's freaking the F out, like, oh my gosh, someone killed Teppei. Who killed Teppei? And then in Chapter 5, they're like, oh no. Anyway, actually, not even the oh no. They literally just don't notice. That seems kind of weird to me. Because at this point, they've been dead for a while. At least a couple weeks. She probably thought the place researching the parasite is the Erie Clinic. Rena suspected that there was something fishy about the clinic from the beginning, and that suspicion must have changed into certainty in her head by now. Did that mean she was going to attack the clinic? That wasn't like an action movie. What could she do all by herself? Was she going to start a fire? No, that would be pointless. In order to expose the conspiracy, she'd have to get proof that they were actually studying the parasite. Was she going to break into the clinic and get questionable weird samples? The last problem of all was how much time she had left. If she believed she didn't have much time left, especially under desperate, disadvantageous conditions, she might try to stab whoever she thought of as an enemy. But Rena sounded like she really believed she would regain her happy and peaceful days after everything was over. Rena probably meant she was going to stay alive and win. Was there something like an antidote? It didn't have to be real. As long as it was an antidote to Rena's delusion, it didn't matter what it was. It could even be the water you washed your vegetables with. But if she thought it was she could get the antidote so easily, she wouldn't have been so desperate about the time she has left. The antidote must be difficult for her to get. The easiest place for that, in her delusion, was that it was hidden somewhere in the clinic. Putting it all together like that, I felt like Erie and his clinic were in danger. Now that I thought about it, the elderly people in the village, including members of the town council, hung out in the waiting room of the clinic all the time. Just like for funsies or because they frequently have checkups. If most of the board members happened to gather there, for her, it'd be the perfect place to attack. I told Mion about that during the lunch break.
普段ならそんなバカなって言いたいところだけど、その可能性を全く否定できなくもないからね。本家に電話してみるよ。診療所にも人を配置するように言っとく。
Mion didn't object to my crazy idea. She put down her chopsticks and went to the teacher's office to make a phone call.
先ほどからなんだか物騒な話でございますけど、本当にレナさんがそんな恐ろしいことをなさいますの？診療所を襲うなんて信じられませんわ。
By the way, I'm not sure if I've ever mentioned this before, Satoko, but props to you for knowing how to tie a tie.
するかもしれない。しないかもしれない。でもな、怒っちまったらおしまいなんだよ。惨劇に抗うってことは、起こさないように戦うってことなんだから。
何事もないことを祈りたいのです。
わかりました。若いのを2人ほど診療所に送ります。
まさかとは思うけどね。何をやらかすか分かったもんじゃない。
姿を見たら直ちに引っ取られてしまって構いませんか？
Try not to shoot her.
本当は嫌なんだけどな。どうしようね。
先日の会合でリュウグウレナを確保して警察に引き渡すことで決着しています。ですので引っ取られても一応筋は通ります。
Rena, I really hope that you don't like make homemade bombs and strap them to yourself in like a suicide bomber kind of thing.
うちの対面じゃなくて、レナの心情的に気の毒だなって。
I don't know if Rena would be able to make homemade bombs overnight, but there's a lot of stuff in the garbage dump. Maybe she found the materials.
できたら本当に静かに決着したいんだけどね。
Don't think that's gonna happen, Mion. It's the last part of the chapter.
まあ、お若いですから。人さえ殺さなければ大抵はごめんなさいで済みますよ。
Yeah, as long as she didn't kill someone.
じゃあアウトかもだ。
いえいえ、見つからなければセー
Oh
フですから。
wow, Kasai just knows.
セーフ。沖宮の界隈ではあの二人の失踪を気にする者
Kasai's
はい
like,
ません。
yeah, I don't. This is what I'm saying. I'm pretty sure if she had asked Kasai to like intimidate the two or like keep them off her, he probably would have been like, yeah, okay. She just like went to murder real quickly.
何かのやばい話を踏んで夜逃げしたんだろうということになっています。
But and again, I don't blame Rena for killing Rina because Rina literally tried to kill Rena first. The Tepe murder's a little harder to explain away, but he was a colossal crud butt, so I'm okay with it.
あの程度のゴロつき、次から次へです。
I don't condone it, but I also am not necessarily going to condemn it.
ですからセーフ。
アウトだのセーフだの。私ら野球拳でもやってるわけ？まあいいや。それじゃあくれぐれもよろしくお願いします。
了解しました。では引っ取られてよろしいですね。
So we can capture her by force, okay?
ちゃんとタッチアウトにするんだよ。クロスプレーなんかにしないようによろしく頼みます。
I couldn't help but have a silly chat with Kasai though. I don't always yawn, but when I do, I'm always streaming a visual novel. When I put the phone down, I sensed Chia-sensei was looking at me. No wonder, as she'd been able to hear the conversation clearly in this tiny room. Chia-sensei put her spoon down, and with a sad look on her face, she asked me the following.
今の電話は竜宮さんをめぐる話ですか？
Don't worry about it.
まあ、はい。園崎さん、竜宮さんはどうして家出をしちゃったんでしょう？お友達として何か知ってはいませんか？
Actually, now that I think about it, Teacher looks kind of like an older version of Rena, just with blue hair. They have fairly similar hairstyles, pretty similar face shapes, and I think the exact same color eyes too. It was hard for anyone to understand Rena's situation, except for me and Kei-chan. So most of them thought Rena had just ran away from home. But after she did, the cops made too much of a fuss over it. Luisi stupidly believed that the scrapbooks were a big scoop, and he overreacted in trying to find Rena. He had patrol cars running around everywhere in the village. He even used the town council's phone directory to find her. So people in the village thought Rena did something wrong and was trying to run from the cops. What was going to be difficult for me, more than finding her, was to make up a story to retrieve Rena's honor after they detain her. What about this? Rena went for a walk, fell down and hit her head on the edge of some tofu and lost her memory. Luisi misunderstood something big time, and he thought she was a criminal. It was too easy. Anyway, you think that was easy? You think that's a good excuse? She hit her head on tofu? Not a rock? Anyway, we did make it clear that Uisi was the one who misunderstood everything at the meeting the other day. I had to make the best use of his name while he was feeling down for once. What I'd have to do was to not make a big deal about this situation, and to create an environment that allowed Rena to forget everything that happened, in order to get her life back together as soon as possible.
大丈夫ですよ先生。レナは今ちょっと病気になってるだけです。それを警察の某ベテラン刑事が素敵に勘違いして話をややこしくしただけです。
I wonder who that could be. Not
まさ
Akasaka.
か先生、レナが悪いことをして逃走中なんて信じちゃいないですよね。
それはもちろんですけど、でも家出することによってご家族におかけしている迷惑を考えれば悪くないということはありません。
She had a fight with her father, and she ran away from home for a little while. She acted childish, and that's all. Maybe that'd be the best story to go with.
何か悩みがあったのでしょうか。それに気づけなかった私は今日一度竜宮さんとじっくりお話がしたかったです。
She's just the best! She's smart, beautiful, and kind-hearted. Why can't I find me a Chia Sensei in real life?
先生、ちょっとヘビーに考えすぎです。もうちょっとリラックス。プチ家出なんて今時珍しくないですって。は
あ、竜宮さんがこのまま不良になってしまって悪いことを始めたらどうしましょう。
Rena, maybe hold off on buying that motorcycle you were thinking about. Uh-oh. No, don't cry, Genuine. Ryuga-san becomes a bad kid. She does something bad and gets arrested by the police. It's her teacher's responsibility. I'll be dishonorably discharged. I can't eat curry anymore. I'm dead. Is that the only inner monologue we're gonna get of teacher? That's hilarious. Chia Sensei seemed to be comically upset by her own imagination. It looked funny, so I decided to leave her alone. I made to leave the teacher's office to go back to the classroom, but right then the phone rang.
はい、もしもし。ひなみ沢文庫でございます。
Chia Sensei had to answer the phone all day today because the principal was on a business trip. Yeah, I'm just gonna go skiing in Utah. Just, you know, real casual. That's at the other end of the... I exited the hallway. Then I heard the tone of her voice change.
今どこにいるんですか?
What? I yelled and looked back at her. It was probably Rena. She called the school! I tried to go back to the teacher's office, but Chia Sensei gestured at me to not come in. Chia Sensei acknowledged what Rena was saying several times, and then she looked up at the clock.
わかりました。今からすぐ行きます。先生との約束ですよ。
She said only that, put the phone down, and got her purse out of her locker.
院長、先生は休養ができました。
Oh no! No!
しばらく表へ出ますので、みんなを自習させてください。
It's a trap! Rena's getting the teacher out of there. Principal's out of the time. There's no adults here. This is the perfect time for Rena to be like, alright! I pumped the gasoline in the vents! Time to light it on fire! She took her car key out from her purse. It was obvious she was going to see Rena somewhere.
先生、今の電話はレナ。
以上です。よろしく頼みますよ、院長。
That was a little frightening, teacher. Chia Sensei completely ignored me and she ran out into the hallway. She ran to the schoolyard and got into her car. She drives a Lexus? The moment her car left through the gate, I ran to the schoolyard myself. Was that Rena's way of saying, teacher, I always liked you? If there was one person I would pull out of the school so they wouldn't get hurt, it would be teacher. Maybe that says something about me, though. I headed for the black car parked near the gate and knocked on the window.
お疲れ様です。
Hey, gangster!
今のところ異常ありません。
違う。今出て行った先生の車を追って。
No! Keep him at the school to protect the kids!
多分、行く先にレナがいる。
了解っす。
レナは警戒心が強いから注意してね。捕まえたら有無を言わさずに本家放り込んで、葛西の指示に従うこと。私の友人だよ。怪我なんかさせたら許さないからね。
Rena must have told Chia Sensei that she wanted to talk to her alone. I can tell that easily from the way she ignored my question. Why do I keep needing to yawn? I hate it. I did feel a little bad for ruining their promise. but it was very important that we caught her before she did something wrong. We could still make up an excuse that she was just wandering around because she had a fight with her father and ran away from home. But if she set fire to the clinic or something, there would be nothing I could do. A car made a rough U-turn on the gravel road, and it chased after Chia-sensei's car at full speed. I watched the car until it was gone. All I could do now was pray that this would be settled calmly.
みんな午後の授業は自習になったよ。というわけで、おとなしく席について何かやること。
自習?
Mion ran up to me and spoke quietly.
レナから電話があった。
え、本当か？
うん。ついさっき職員室に電話が。ジエ先生が指定された場所に会いに行ったみたい。
Are the gardeners still here?
レナのやつ、一体どういうつもりなんだ？
They just left the school full of unsupervised kids.
わかんない。とにかく、うちの車に先生の後を追わせてる。
Can you call some new bodyguards to the school?
レナには悪いけど、そこで踏んづかまえる。
うまくいくといいな。
Rena's
荒
playing,
事には
y'all.
慣れてる連中だよ。任せとこう。
じゃあ、捕まえれば一件落着なのか？
だね。そしたらとりあえず病院に放り込むよ。きっと専門の医者が見たら、なんだってくらいに典型的な何かの病気だよきっと。
He'll find something.
強迫性、心因性、ストレスなんたらとか、多分そんな感じのやつ。
While we were spending our afternoon playing, we weren't playing. We were studying peacefully. The members of the Sonozaki family would capture Rena, who was waiting for Chia-sensei somewhere. The problem would be solved. It wasn't going to be easy after that, but I was sure Mion would take good care of her. And in the end, everyone would understand that Rena just ran away from home because of a silly fight with her father. A happy ending.
一件落着でしょ?
Mion winked at me. She looked like she already thought of everything was over. But that just didn't sound right to me. I couldn't see any connection between Rena and Chia-sensei. It was hard to explain, but there was something wrong. I wasn't saying that they didn't get along. Rena was a good student, so Chia-sensei had a good relationship with her. But I just didn't understand what Rena wanted from Chia-sensei. While I was thinking about it, the door opened, and one of our classmates came back from the bathroom. Oh, with Rena! There she is! Happy birthday! Happy birthday! You'll never guess what I brought. I brought the knife to cut the cake. Oh, okay. Oh, that one's she just looks very happy to be there with her hatchet. Oh, baby! Oh, this one's the coolest. By far. Oh, yeah. Oh, baby. Oh, baby. Let's go. It's my birthday.
Rena!
みんな起立起立
Uh-oh, she's frowny now. All right, everybody. All right, everybody. Party's over. Rena's here. Well, but why are you attacking the school? How is this going to help you out? I don't understand.
教室の真ん中に集まって
Everybody gasped in surprise. Even Chia-sensei couldn't make everybody go so quiet all of a sudden. Rena was gripping the shoulder of the student who came back from the bathroom. In her other hand, she had a big, scary-looking hatchet. It was the same one she had the other night. Oh no, it's the insane music popping up. Everyone immediately understood that Rena had taken a hostage.
みんな聞こえてない
Nah, sorry. We're going to this art style.
教室の真ん中に集まって
Actually, you know what? No, we'll keep this. The pose here is just too good.
机は周りにどけちゃってね
Nobody grasped what she was asking us to do. We all froze. Rena was the only one who was smiling, and it was terrifying, but she's not smiling here.
兄ちゃん委員長でしょみんなに指示して
レナ、あんた何をやってんの?
Bam! Bro! They are giving her new sprites and it's amazing! Console has the most new sprites though. Rena hit the teacher's desk really hard with her hatchet. She pulled out the hatchet, making an ominous ripping noise. There was now a line of violence carved plainly into the desk. Uh-oh. She broke it. Chia-sensei's gonna get mad when she comes back. No, that wasn't it. What the hell?
みーちゃんはやっぱりダメだねじゃあケイチくんに頼むよケイチくんだけは最後まで私の仲間なんだよね だから信じていいんだ
Oh
よ
boy.
ね。
You're really doing this, Rena? Rena, your eyes. You look so scary. I've never seen eyes like that in my life. Your eyes are so full of insanity. Why are people afraid of insanity? Insanity means the person doesn't share the same values or the same common sense as us. For example, say a thief breaks into your house and he ties you up. You'll get scared and wonder if he's going to stab you before he leaves. But you hope that the thief has feelings too, and that he's not going to kill you for no reason. No matter how bad the person is, we tend to believe in his goodwill as long as we share the same values, the same common sense, and the same morals as him. But we can't expect goodwill from somebody who doesn't have those things. We can't expect goodwill from a person who can't communicate with us. When a burglar has a knife and you beg him not to hurt you, you expect him to listen to you and show you mercy. In other words, you can still communicate with him. But if he doesn't have the ability to communicate, he's just like a monster that's trying to attack you. Or like the blade of a guillotine that's falling down on you. You fear him because you can't communicate with him. That's insanity. It was the same fear we were feeling towards Rena at the very moment. She looked like a human just like us, but there was no room for her to communicate with us like a normal person could do. Everybody understood that fear instinctively.
ケイチ君、机をどけさせて教室の真ん中に広場を作って。
Rena, why are you attacking the school?
わかった。みんな、レナが言うのに従おう。
Rena was like a barrel of gunpowder at that moment. She seems really calm and quiet, but she could explode any minute. When she did, I doubt she'd show us any mercy. She probably wouldn't hesitate to use that hatchet on us. That's right. Just like how I didn't feel guilty or hesitate to kill Rena or Mion. Everybody went all quiet while pushing the desks against the wall to make a space where Rena wanted it. Rena, saying that we're moving too slow, hit the blackboard of the hatchet, making a horrible noise. Every time she did that, she left an equally horrible scar on the blackboard. The thing we looked at most in the school.
じゃあケイチ君、みんなのロッカーから縄跳びを出してもらえるかな。それを使ってみんなを後ろ手で縛ってね。
Rena.
俺、縛るのとか下手くそなんだよ。多分上手に縛れないぞ。
後でちゃんと縛れているか全員のを調べる。
Alright.
ゆるい人はその場で殺しちゃうから。
Run!
しっかり縛ってあげてね。
Alright! Alright! We got the creepy Rena from Chapter 1 back now. Different kind of creepy, but alright, let's go. We were still kids. We saw the word kill all the time. It was used a lot in comic books and cartoons after all. So normally you'd assume we'd be used to hearing the word kill. But when Rena said she'd kill us, it sounded so frightening. I'd never heard something like that before in my life. To Rena, our lives were like cards she could use for negotiation. She'd get rid of one card every time somebody refused her request. Get rid of? Damn it! Why did we use such scary words like get rid of for simple things like playing cards? Anyway, there were about 20 students in the class. That was a little bit too many for Rena to handle. She might get rid of one or two just to set an example. I decided to do what Rena said because I didn't want her to lose her temper. I got out everybody's jump ropes from their lockers.
じゃあみんな床にうつ伏せになってね。ケイチ君は後ろ手にどんどん縛っていって。きっちり縛るんだよ。ケイチ君は私の味方だもん。
This is a different kind of terrifying, but I like it.
わざとゆるくなん
From
か
a
縛ったり
storytelling
しない。
perspective.
ね。
Mion tried to make eye contact with me. If everybody was tied down, we wouldn't be able to stop her from occupying the school. There were more than 20 students in this class. Half of them were boys, but most of them were smaller than Rena. But there were enough people here to overpower her. But if we did that, Rena would probably hit her hostage with the hatchet. And she'd use the hatchet to attack the rest of us without hesitation. It'd be a bloody battle. Yeah, these are kids. Rena, if you kill a child, you're going down the tier list a lot. A lot. I'm sure somebody would get hurt if we tried to overpower her. The hostage would be seriously injured, or maybe even die. If that happened, it was over. No matter how hard we tried to cover up, she'd never be able to live peacefully like before. Mion seemed to understand that too. I could tell from Rena's eyes that she wasn't going to go easy on us. If somebody showed defiance, she'd break the hostage's head open immediately. Of course, Rena had done that before. she'd probably do it again with no hesitation. But, as long as we did what she said, we could prevent the bloody tragedy. If we could somehow solve this situation without shedding any blood, with Mion's influence, we might still be able to pretend that this never happened. At the very least, we had to make sure she didn't kill anyone.
従おう。ケイちゃん。
Mion tried to think of ways to overpower Rena, but she couldn't come up with any good ideas to save the hostage. That's how easy it would be for Rena to kill them. The best thing to do at that time was to wait for a chance without agitating her fervor. Mion lay down on the floor and everyone else followed suit, sluggish with terror. And I was left alone, standing rooted to the spot with the jump ropes in my hands. All of my classmates were lying face down on the floor while Rena was pointing the hatchet at the hostage, watching our every move from behind the teacher's desk. I just stood frozen in the middle of it all.
ケイチ君にはまだまだ手伝ってもらうことがたくさんあるの。だから早くして。あんまり時間がかかると何人かが死んでしまうかもしれない。
Some of the little kids started crying when they heard the word die.
大丈夫だよみんな。ケイチ君がきっと助けてくれるから。だからきっと。だ。
Uh-oh. Yikes. Damn it. What a bold threat. She said I was her friend, but she was just playing with the meaning of the word. I was the last person who could still fight against Rena under these circumstances, but it wasn't going to be easy to overpower her by myself. I wasn't sure if I could do that. Even if I tried to act tough, once Rena pointed the hatchet at somebody's neck, it was over. I shouldn't fight against her for now. I should just wait for a chance. Here's the thing, even if you do get out of this nobody dead, you really think Rena is getting away with this? You really think Rena's just gonna be allowed back to be a student in this class? Nah, not happening. We've crossed the line. I should just wait for a chance. That's probably where we had another decision we could have made. As long as Rena was alone, there would be a chance. She made me tie them up because she couldn't do that by herself. There was a limit to what she could do because she was by herself. If we could cover this up somehow before Chi-sensei came back, we'd still be able to pretend that like we were kidding around. I finally realized something. I realized why Rena called Chi-sensei to meet with her. In order for Rena to take over the classroom, she needed to get rid of Chi-sensei. Chi-sensei had a very strong sense of justice. Even if Rena had a gun, she wouldn't hesitate to overpower her. She was the kind of teacher who would risk her life for her students. Rena needed to figure out how to get rid of Chi-sensei. That was the key to her plan. Rena probably thought about attacking her from behind at first, but there was risk there, as Chi-sensei was a grown-up woman, so she probably thought that attacking her directly wasn't a wise choice. So naturally, the next best option was to lure her out somewhere. Rena called Chi-sensei and told her she wanted to talk to her in private, in order to lure her out to someplace far from there. Most people, including Chi-sensei, thought Rena was just running away from home. So Chi-sensei must have thought Rena had some problems she wanted to talk to her about. It was too easy to deceive her. Where did she make the phone call from? She probably used the phone in the school. Well, not in the school, to be exact. She probably used the phone on the second floor of the school, the one belonging to the forestry service. No one heard her for the ceiling. Thank goodness for her. The school was using the part of the forestry service building, but this particular location was more of a branch office, so it's not like somebody was here all the time. Rena knew that, and she probably had been hiding there for a while. She called the phone on the first floor from the second floor, and she made Chi-sensei leave the school. I didn't think it was a coincidence that the principal was going on a business trip today. She probably snuck into the school yesterday. She saw the principal's schedule, learned how to call the phone on the first floor from the second, and carried out her plan. She planned it perfectly. Yeah, I knew it. Rena was insane, but I knew she was also actually really calm. She was possessed by her delusion, but she was also unbelievably calm about it. So, she could still think fast. I knew that very well because I'd been through the same thing before. What was worse is that Mion's bodyguards were gone. Mion told them to follow Chi-sensei because she thought Chi-sensei was going to meet with Rena. Damn it! Everything seemed to be working out in her favor.
しまったぞ。
I tied up the last person and I looked in Rena's direction. If I didn't tie them up really tightly, Rena would kill them. But when I tied them too tightly, they suffered in pain. Their pained cries made me feel useless.
ありがとう、ケイチ君。ケイチ君を疑りはしないけど、一応全員を調べるね。ケイチ君は頭の上で手を組んでうつ伏せに寝ててね。これは全員に言うけど、私の断りなく立ち上がったら殺す。
Alright! Crazy Eyes Rena is back. Oh, farts. That's not the face that you want to see. Oof.
本人も殺すし、見せしめでランダムにもう一人殺す。
ランダムじゃよくないね。
Why are you there?
じゃあこうしよう。言うことを聞かなかったこと、出席番号に10を加えた子を殺す
Okay, Rena.
にしようかな。
That's just insane, even in your own delusions.
例えば、岡村くんが言うことを聞かなかったとする。そうすると、出席番号11番、渡辺くんが一緒に殺されちゃう。わかる？常に2人死ぬの。歯向かっても自分の命一つじゃ責任が取れないってこと。よーく胸に刻んでおくんだよ。
Rena, you're insane. How awful. She totally understood how to threaten people. Normally, you stand against an attacker at your own risk. If you fail, you're going to die. But if you were responsible for someone else, then you wouldn't try to resist. You can't risk somebody's life with your own decisions.
うん。全員ちゃんと縛れてるね。圭一くん、縛るの下手くそって言ってたけど、結構うまいよ。自信持っていいよ。じゃあ、圭一くんは立って。
It was too late to fight back. I followed her orders. I just had to wait for a chance. The OG sprite Rena just looks offended. You called them a racial slur? Wait. Oh wait, it's probably not the way anymore, but yeah. The art styles are a bit different. I had to do something. Anyway, what were you planning to do, Rena? Don't tell me this is the come from behind victory you were talking about. Yeah, well, this is perfectly normal and reasonable. How do you know this? How do they know this? How did anybody let them know about this? Oh, it's sunset now. A lot of time has passed. No, nope. No. Uisi does not belong in any art style other than the remake.
遅れて申し訳ない。状況は？
ご苦労様っす。本日午後1時頃、ひなみ沢営林署内のひなみ沢分校区画にて、当時教室にいた生徒25名全員が拘束されている模様。犯人側の第一要求は、営林署敷地内への一切の立ち入りの禁止と、当保へのホットラインの確保です。
ってことは、初めから警察と交渉する気ってことですか。どういうつもりだ。
あと犯人は交渉人に大石さんを指名してます。犯人は竜宮玲奈。
竜宮さんが？わかりました。いいですよ。とことんお付き合いさせてもらいましょう。
Well, at least Uisi's in a good mood. Glad he is. Uisi gave a crooked smile.
竜宮玲奈以外に犯人がいるか不明です。カーテンが閉められているので状況も一切確認できていません。
通報者に占拠時の様子は聞いてませんか？
いえ、竜宮玲奈からの直接の犯行声明でした。よって内部の状況は一切不明。担任は犯行直前に竜宮玲奈の電話呼び出しを受け、遠方に呼び出された間の犯行でした。
計画的ですね。営林署側の人間は人質には？
今日は営林署職員は不在でした。
Hey Fomoa, did your comments get deleted? Not by me. And I don't think anybody else has the access rights to delete comments. Maybe you got the YouTube glitch. There have been times where, like, my sister's comments got auto-deleted by YouTube. And I don't know why. But, well, that's a mistake. Glad you're here, though. Welcome.
よって、生徒25名のみ。生徒数は担任が出席簿で確認した人数です。
それプラス犯人ってわけか。竜宮玲奈以外に犯人らしき人影は？
いえ、何度かカーテンから覗く人影がありましたが、いずれも竜宮玲奈本人でした。ですが規模他を考えて、おそらく最低でももう一人二人はいると予想されます。
単独犯かもしれませんよ。
Rena Ryugu was the true believer in Miyotaka no scrapbooks. According to those scrapbooks, the entire village was Rena Ryugu's enemy. She didn't have anyone she can trust. However, Uisi had also believed in Miyotaka's delusion. It was possible that someone who was influenced in the same way was following Rena Ryugu.
おいさん、校長と担任です。
Principal! He's back from his Utah ski trip!
ああ、どうもどうも、千恵先生。大丈夫ですか？
Uisi ran up to Chi-sensei, who was crying with a handkerchief held up to her face.
レナちゃんはとても真面目ないい子なんです。こんなことをするなんて何かの間違いに決まっています。
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
マニュアル通りなら最近の竜宮さんの状況についてお聞きするところなんですがね。多分竜宮さんに限っては先生より私の方が詳しいように思います。
I think we're close to finishing it. This seems like it's the climax.
まあ気を落とされずになんとか穏便に解決しますからご安心を。
Chi-sensei was huddled over, and Uisi didn't think he could say anything else to her. On the contrary, the principal was staying strong, trying to figure out how to take care of the situation.
大石殿、
Principal
よろ
is
し
here,
くお頼みしますぞ。
and he's here to save the day.
もしできるなら人質の交換を申し出たい。
Oh.
ぜひ私と子供たちを交換していただきたい。
Ooh.
校長先生、私が悪いんです。
We got two great authority figures here.
先生方、どうかご自分を責められないでください。先生方には校内の状況についていろいろとお聞きしたいことがありますので。
When will we get a principal spray? Probably never. He doesn't seem like a major character. What did I think about the reveal of Chapter 1? I still don't buy it. I'm not going to believe it unless they actually give me an explanation onto why Rena was acting like a crazed psychopath during that time. Because there are some things that you might be able to explain of, oh, Keiichi was just crazy and paranoid, but there are some things that don't. Like, he physically held the needle at one point. Rena and Mion both mentioned that they were like, yeah, we're gonna kill you at the end with, like, the Tomatake drugs. And they apparently weren't. But they still said that. Rena still chased us with a hatchet. Rena still hardcore stalked us and admitted to it. Rena still tried to break into our house. You know, there's still a lot of stuff that's very much left unanswered. So, I'm still going with my theory of Keiichi was crazy, but so were Rena and Mion. As of right now, that's the only thing that could make sense. Need anime. Two words that do not describe my life.
ボンジ君、図面の方で話を聞いてあげてください。
失礼します。1号車の無線に高杉課長です。
はいはい、もしもし。
大石さん、ご苦労さん。状況の大体は熊谷君に聞いたよ。犯人は未成年だそうだね。マスコミ規制の方を厳重に頼むよ。
Oh yeah, no problem.
分かってます。あと、犯人側が私を交渉人に指定してきてるようですが。
The negotiator.
竜宮玲奈の件は先日の寄生虫の話以来よく知ってる。その流れなら犯人は君のことをまだ味方だと思ってくれているんだと思う。大石君以外には務まらない。くれぐれもよろ。
本当はすっごく嫌なんですがね。ちょっと今回はいろいろとお騒がせした責任を感じてますので。
おいさん、車載電話に犯人です。
早速ご指名の電話が来ました。早速出ることにします。ありがとう。はい、もしもし、大石です。
大石さんですか？
Pure red, there we go.
どうも、竜宮です。
どうもどうも、大石です。
車載電話って電波とかが悪いんですか？たまにちょっと聞こえにくくなりますね。
私と同じでね、定年間近なんですよ、きっと。
Uisi and I exchanged friendly words. A long cord trailed through the hallway from the teacher's office. That cord extended further to the phone on the podium in the classroom.
では、本題に入りますね。まず最初に、あなたが交渉人たる資格があるか確認します。
You know sensory delusions are possible just because of believing that something is there, right? Yeah, to an extent. Not to the extent that Keiichi was suffering them. You can mistake things, like seeing things for other things. You can hear weird noises where there aren't any. You can't hear people saying words that they don't actually say. Like, that goes way beyond what actual, like, auditory hallucinations are.
自信ないな。お伺いします。
大石さんは私の味方ですよね。
In order for that to happen, Keiichi would have to not hear what they actually said and then make believe that they said something that they didn't. And I don't buy that.
当然じゃないですか。あなたと私で園崎家の陰謀を暴こうじゃないですか。
Uisi answered without hesitation. Was he still my ally? Or was this sly detective just saying what I wanted to hear? Either way, I only had Uisi to depend upon. If I couldn't trust him, I was stuck. There would be nothing else I could do.
圭一君も一時期は私が言ってることを信じてくれなかったんだよね。でも今は信じるでしょ。
Don't drag me into this now. Keiichi-kun was sitting on the floor facing away from me with his head resting on his hands.
今はもう私の仲間で味方だもんね。
ああ。
He's like, yeah, what else can I say? He looks miserable in that sprite. Yeah. The poor guy. Oh, wow. Rare win for the Keiichi Remake W. That face is way more expressive close-up than the other two. He's just like, oh. Just looks so like, oh my gosh, this is horrible, but I have to go along with it. Ren and Ryugu asked Keiichi Maebara if he was her comrade, but I couldn't hear his voice. Was she trying to tell me that Keiichi Maebara was still alive? Or that he was being forced to obey her because of the hostages?
前原さんも竜宮さんの味方なんですね。心強いことです。でも、あなたも一時期前原さんを少し疑われていたじゃないですか。
モデルガンの事件を聞いて、なんて人だろうって思った。でも、過去の事件で今を見損なっちゃいけない。それらを踏み台にして、私たちはより良い理想の自分になれるように成長していかなくちゃならないんだから。
The dissonance in the calmness of her voice and the craziness of her actions.
とてもいいことを言いますね。まさにその通りです。
だから私たちは許し合ったの。だから圭一君のことを私はもう疑わない。圭一君は仲間。
わかりました。ならばそれは私にとっても圭一君は仲間。
Luis is like, all right, Keiichi's an accomplice. Let's just write that down.
圭一君に私がよろしくと言ってると伝えてください。
後で言っておきますね。
圭一君にも新しい仲間としてご挨拶がしたいです。受話器に出てもらうことはできますか？
The conversation stopped suddenly. That made me nervous. Did I say something wrong?
いいよ、圭一君。大石さんから電話だよ。
I heard some rattling and rustling on the other side of the phone.
もしもし、前原です。
He sounded monotone. Unable to disobey, Keiichi Maebara must have been pretending to follow Ren and Ryugu's orders.
どうも前原沖宮署の大石です。この度はお世話になります。お互い頑張りましょう。
はい、よろしくお願いします。
竜宮さんは今何をしてますか？
教室の中を歩いてますよ。
前原さん。
I heard that!
イエスならはい。ノーなら A と相槌を打ってください。あなたは竜宮さんが何を要求しようとしてるか。
That answer told me for sure. Keiichi Maebara wasn't Rena Ryugu's accomplice. There's no way Rena wouldn't tell her accomplice what she wanted after planning a hostage situation like this. How would he help someone who wouldn't even tell him what she wanted?
担当直入にお聞きします。あなたは竜宮レナの味方？いえ質問を変えます。あなたは竜宮レナに脅迫されて従っているふりをしている。
はい。
There you go. The other guys in the car listening in our conversation raised their fists in victory.
犯人は竜宮レナの一人だけ？
はい。
If she was the only suspect, then we could respond appropriately. I guess nobody else believed in Takano's scrapbooks. If so, my being fooled was even more embarrassing. As I thought about my next question, I heard the phone being taken away from Keiichi. Rena came back on the line.
ね、圭一君は味方でしょ？
ねえ、そうでした。とても頼もしいですよ。
で、今度は大石さんが話してくれる番。前の電話で約束した 園崎家関係への一斉捜査はどうですか？
Yeah, again. Rena, are you just doing this to be in a position of power so you can, like, demand things like this? I still don't know why you're holding the school hostage.
秘密の研究施設は発見できましたか？
I had to decide on what to say. Should I tell her we conducted raids or not? Maybe she already knew we didn't raid. Maybe she was just testing me.
今ですね、県警の防隊と公安部で一斉捜査作戦を準備中なんです。何しろ市内全域を一斉にやりますからね。調整に多少の時間が。
遅すぎる！大石さん、私たちは今、獅子骨市が置かれている緊急的危機についてよく理解し合っているんじゃなかったでしたっけ？何をのんびりとしたことを。大石さん、本当に私の話を信じてくれているんですよね。私の味方なんですよね。味方ですよね。答えてください。
You didn't answer right away. You had to think about it first, didn't you?
ですが、警察組織ってやつは簡単に私も最大限。ただですね、やはり話の規模があまりに大きすぎるもので。
大石さん、私、奴らにどこかで毒を盛られました。富武さんにあの異常な死に方を強いたあれをどこかで盛られたんです。昨日から痒くて仕方がない。
There's no way that was just yesterday. That was at least a few days.
もう私、首をかきむしりすぎて血まみれなんです。いつ錯乱して喉をかき破ってしまうかもわからないというのに、大石さんは何をもたもたと。
I knew it. Uisi didn't realize how dire the situation was. He understood there was some kind of a conspiracy in Hinamizawa, but he didn't realize how soon their plan was going to be executed. Besides, I was already feeling itchy all over my body and was bound to soon die the same way as Tomatake-san.
申し訳ないです。これでも頑張っているんです。ただですね、みんな言うんですよ。その証拠はないのかと。
証拠があればすぐに動いてくれるんですか？
Mio-san's scrapbooks. Maybe that was what I'd need to convince the police. I was afraid someone would destroy the evidence if I handed them over to Uisi-san, so I kept them with me. But I didn't have much longer to live. I might not even make it until tomorrow morning. That's right, I might be dead before tomorrow. I would die tonight.
わかりました。ミオさんのスクラップ帳をお渡しします。それでどうか他の警察の人たちを一刻も早く説得してください。
ああ、助かります。そのスクラップ帳をぜひ。
I looked through my backpack, which was lying by my feet. Mio-san's scrapbooks were in there.
これは私たちの切り札です。大石さん、くれぐれも、いや、絶対によろしくお願いします。
わかりました。信頼してください。必ずや奴らの陰謀を暴いてみせます。
でも、まあ多分警察も組織だからそうなんだろうなとは思ってたんです。
She's not wrong.
だからちょっと強引なやり方だけど、こんな形を取らせてもらったんです。大石さんは私に要求されて仕方なくやっているという言い訳ができるはず。なんとかこのチャンスを有効に生かしてください。
ありがとうございます。
Rena could as well say something different since she was saying stuff that Keiichi didn't know. Still, auditory hallucinations can be even more extreme and not match reality at all, and the person doesn't have to say anything. Still seems a bit extreme. Maybe they'll explain more about that.
必ずやあなたの期待に添えるよう努力します。ではどうしましょう。
Because if for it to happen at the level that it happened in Chapter 1, it would literally just have to be so severe all of a sudden that Keiichi just does not process anything even remotely close to reality. And somehow nobody notices. It doesn't add up for me. Maybe they'll cover it more. Maybe they can convince me.
私が受け取りに参りましょうか。
I knew she wouldn't let me into the classroom. She was still cautious. I could guess where Rena Ryugu was going to take this thing, so I tried to stay ahead of her. I handed a memo with my instructions on it to a colleague.
さすがに私がこの場を離れるわけにはいかないので、代わりに圭一君に持って行かせます。
その方がいいかもしれません。やはりあなたが学校の外へ出れば、もし
やって。
いえ、この騒ぎをもう園崎家も嗅ぎつけているでしょう。 あなたがこういう手に打って出るとは思わなかったでしょうから、強引な手で口封じをしてくる可能性があります。
口封じ？それって
狙撃です。園崎家のヒットマンは多分。
We see, I'm not sure if you're helping matters by bringing that up.
だからあなたは表に出ない方がいい。窓にも近づかないでください。さっきから何度か顔を出しているようですが、あれは危ない。
I'm gonna try to go until the end of the chapter. Yeah, I think we're pretty close. We only have one more achievement left.
そこを撃たれてしまいますよ。
ちょっと、周りには警察がいるんでしょ？そんなの未然に防げないんですか？
防げるなら防ぎます。ですがね、周りの視界が良すぎます。訓練を受けたものなら400メートルくらいはやすやすと狙撃するそうです。ましてや、あなたもご存知の通り、園崎家の特攻隊は軍事訓練を受け、中でも暗殺技術に関しては特
Maybe
に
this is a
習
five-head
得していま
play,
す。
but this doesn't seem like it's the right thing to say.
奴らは侮らないでください。園崎家の陰謀を暴くには、あなたの力がまだまだ必要なんで
Maybe
す。
it's just a play to be like, oh yeah, I'm totally on your side.
わかりました。忠告をありがとうございます。どうせ明日まで持たない命でも、今終わらせるわけにはいきませんので。
そうですともそうですと。いいですか。くれぐれも窓から顔を覗かせないでください。
Oh, is that how it's gonna go?
用心してください。
The phone conversation ended. Renato Ryuga was going to let Keiichi Maibara deliver the scrapbooks.
さっき書いたやつ用意できてますね。
OK です。うまく渡せますかね。
狙撃されるかもしれないと脅して外を覗かせないようにしたつもりです。でもまあ見てるでしょうね。
How much time do I have? Like, I technically don't have a hard cutoff, but I was going to play potentially Lethal Company with... Oh, wait, no, actually, Lethal Company's tomorrow, I think. With my friends. Is that... Let me just double check, and... Oh, maybe not. Oh, wait, hang on, was that for last week? No, that was for this week. Okay, there might be Lethal Company tonight, but that's not starting for a bit, so...
そこはうまくやります。
That depends on how long it takes for the Sosakis to send someone to Artie's home. They don't know where I live. I roughly understood what was going on from the phone conversation.
じゃあ、ケイチ君。
Hi, Rena.
これ、とても大切なスクラップ帳。園崎家の陰謀と奴らの侵略の証拠を暴く証拠。大石さんに渡してきてね。
Yes, yes.
渡したらすぐに戻ってくるんだよ。見てるからね。変なことをしたら怒るからね。
I understand. Rena took out a couple of old scrapbooks from her backpack and gave them to me. Then she cast a sidelong glance at Mion.
みーちゃんにも後で話すよ。みーちゃんの家がどれほど恐ろしい陰謀を企んでいるかをね。
You could still do a live stream out of the part that's left? How much longer is the chapter? We only have one more achievement for, like, story progression. So unless it's like, we're not giving you an achievement for story progression for the next 5 hours.
ひょっとすると、もう知ってるのかもしれないけどね。じゃあ、ケイチ君。校庭の真ん中まででいいよ。余計な立ち話とかしちゃダメ。ケイチ君は持っていくだけだから。無言、おしゃべり禁止だからね。
So she doesn't trust us.
おしゃべりしたら、知恵先生なら T 定規で叩くけど、私ならなんで叩いちゃおうかな。
分かってるよ。無言で持っていくからそのナタを下ろせ。俺はレナの仲間だろ。仲間だったら信用しろな。
そうだね。仲間だから信用するよ。だから裏切らないでね。
Are you... Okay, hold on. Is that actually accurate, Liz? We still have around the length of this stream plus 30 minutes. Are you trolling right now? Or is that actually accurate? Because we only have 3 achievements left. One is for story progression, one is for reading all the tips, and one is for just having the conversation for Higurashi in the staff room. Because if that's the case, we're definitely not finishing it tonight. Rena's eyes were telling me clearly. They were telling me she didn't trust me. But even in this state, she also knew she shouldn't distrust her friends. Therefore, although she couldn't trust me, she was pretending to. That was why she didn't tie me up.
じゃあ行ってくる。 すぐ戻るよ。
よろしくね。
I walked past my friends who were lying down on the floor and headed to the exit. I saw some of their faces as I passed. Some were fearful. Some were sure that I'd use the opportunity to run. And some were scared that they'd die if I did. Don't worry, guys. I won't let her even touch any of you. If Rena tries to do something, I'll stop her even if I have to risk my own life. Anyway, I'll do whatever it took to ensure that nobody dies. I had to make sure that Rena didn't get angry. If I just wait for the right moment. I went down to the school entrance and changed my shoes, then unlocked the door and stepped outside. Yeah, you gotta change your shoes, even in a hostage situation. That's just polite. I felt the fresh air on my skin. I saw the lights from the police cars. I could feel all the policemen looking at me. As soon as I was in the schoolyard, a little voice tried to tempt me. I was free from Rena now. If I ran off the school grounds, I'd be free. What was I thinking? If I did something like that, Rena would go crazy, and who knows what else she'd do. The important thing here wasn't my safety. It was to make sure that Rena didn't kill anyone. I saw a big man coming towards me from the school gate. That was probably Uisi-san.
前原圭一さんですね。どうもどうも。沖宮市の大石です。クラちゃんと呼んでくださっても。
Kura? Really?
すみません。レナから何も喋らずにこれを渡せって言われてます。だから無言でこれを受け取ってください。
わかりました。それが問題のスクラップ帳ですね。お預かりします。
I tried to hand the scrapbooks to Uisi-san, but he stepped aside a little. Eh? Confused as to what he was doing, I changed my position and handed them to him again. He took them that time. And at that point, Uisi put something that was under his jacket into my pocket.
大丈夫です。校舎はあなたの背中ですから、竜宮さんが窓から見てたとしても、今のやりとりは見えていません。
何なんですかこれは。
I couldn't look into my pocket because I didn't want Rena to suspect anything, but whatever it was pretty heavy for its size.
あなたへのメモもあります。教室へ戻る途中で竜宮さんに見つからないようにこっそり読んでください。
Easier said than done.
では、そのまま戻って。これ以上は不信がられます。
You didn't notice that the episode had 2 hours instead of 1 hour, so it actually could be 100% as long as this stream was. If that's not a sentence that I can read properly. I just followed his directions. I was worried Rena had begun to suspect something. Walkthrough no commentary video had about 2 hours left. Lovely, okay. When I looked at the classroom, the curtains were closed. But that didn't mean she wasn't peeking out through a crack. I went back to the entrance and locked the door. If Rena checked and found the door unlocked, it would cause more trouble. Rena was in the classroom. There was no way she'd come down this way. She was alone. If she left the classroom, everyone would get up and run. They couldn't run because Rena was there, but they were all waiting for their chance. The entrance, then, was Rena's blind spot. As I changed my shoes, I quickly removed what Uisi-san had put into my pocket. There was a radio with an earpiece? And something else that looked like a short police baton. There was also a folded piece of paper. I opened the piece of paper and saw a note written in small print. Dear Maibara-kun, please hide the bug in your pocket. It picks up even a low voice, so you should use it to get in touch with me. By using the earphone, you can hear me in return. There's also a spray for self-protection. It sprays as far as 1 meter. Make sure you aim for the face. This must be the spray. I guess it's safe to try it here. I held down the button and gas sprayed out of the nozzle. Compared to Rena's hatchet, this required some caution, but it was small enough to fit inside of my hand. It was reassuring that I could hide it so easily. In other words, it was now possible for me to stop Rena. As I realized all my classmates' fates rested on my shoulders, I felt sweat form on my face. The memo continued. The spray is just for self-defensive purposes. Pepper spray only impairs eyesight, and while it makes your enemy powerless due to extreme pain and coughing for at least 30 minutes, it's not powerful enough to render them unconscious. Therefore, please don't forget there's a possibility your enemy may fight back desperately in panic. This spray is your last resort. Please don't depend on it, but if you need it, make sure to use it. He writes fast. Uisi. Was he telling me to use it or not? It was probably one of those grown-up issues. If the cops entrusted me solely with the fate of the hostages and I failed, they'd be held liable. So while he gave me a weapon, he made me consider its use. I hid the bug and the spray in my pockets and went back to the classroom. Hopefully Rena doesn't check him. I felt a little dizzy, maybe because I was nervous. I was simply following Rena's orders because I had no other choice. That was why I wasn't scared. But things were different from before. I had a weapon. I was in a far better position, but my heart was pounding. Humans are so strange. Shit, what am I going to do? What should I do, Keiichi Maibara? Did I want to fight with Rena? The memo said the spray only reaches as far as 1 meter. 1 meter? That was basically a hand-to-hand battle. That meant I only had one opportunity. Wasn't that the same as, like, the squirt guns? I didn't have a second chance. The memo also said I needed to aim for her face. That wasn't gonna be easy. Shit! Besides, Rena was cautious. How could I stand directly in front of her within 1 meter? But that's what I'd have to do if I have any chance of winning. Rena would do anything to reach her goal. She wouldn't even hesitate to kill. Just like how I didn't. Of course, things were already extremely serious. An apology definitely wouldn't be enough. But at least there wouldn't have been any casualties. The more time passed, the more irritated Rena would get. She might demand something again, and she might kill someone that time to show how serious she was. Bad things had already taken place, but a tragedy hadn't occurred yet. But it was almost here. It wasn't very far at all. When I closed my eyes, I could easily picture Rena killing one classmate after another. After I killed Rena and Mion, my room was covered in blood. If she killed 20 people, the classroom would be a pool of it. If that happened, Rena would. She still wouldn't realize she was being delusional. She would rip out her own throat and die. That would be too big of a cross for her to bear, and for one day, she would remember and be saddened. She didn't need to go through that. I didn't want Rena to go through what I had to go through. Shit, I felt dizzy. This was a very long hallway. I didn't know the classroom was so far. With each step I took, my determination to fight Rena became stronger. Rena would be shocked to realize I betrayed her. But if she couldn't wake up from her nightmare on her own, someone else would have to wake her up. And her friends needed to be the ones to do that. You took too long. I killed 5 people already.
大石さん、何か言ってた？
なんだ?
As soon as I stepped into the classroom, I smelled something. Everyone had moved to one corner of the classroom. The smell reminded me of a gas station. Was it? Gasoline? This is a gassy smell. It reminded me of a gas station. It couldn't be gas! I saw a red gasoline container by Rena's feet. The cap was open. It was seemingly sturdy and made of metal. She said gasoline. It said gasoline on the side, written in felt marker. She must have spread it across the entire classroom. The smell was almost giving me a headache. No, it wasn't just in the classroom. The classmates were soaked in gasoline too. How could she? I see. This was just like a hijacker holding a bomb. If the police were to rush in, she would burn the hostages. I didn't know where she got it, but she had a lighter in her left hand.
Rena, これはどういう真似だよ?
もちろんやらないよ。万が一の時の保険なの。私だって大好きなみんなのバーベキューなんて見たくない。だから冗談で済んでほしいって思ってる。
Rena showed off the lighter. Obviously, she was trying to threaten me. I'd heard about people committing suicide by setting themselves on fire. That seems like a painful way to commit suicide. They pour gasoline on themselves and light it ablaze. You might think that if it was extinguished right away, it wouldn't be that bad. But human skin is supposed to be very delicate. And they say that even if 30% of a person's skin gets burned, it's enough to be fatal. Anakin would beg to differ. If it was your entire body, it would result in death for sure. I had been put in a disadvantageous position. My weapon might take Rena's sight, but I couldn't stop her from using the lighter. She'd probably use it the moment she's attacked. I didn't know if she realized it, but the kind of lighter she had would keep burning until the lid was closed. Therefore, all she'd need to do is light it and drop it onto the floor. In other words, my spray can wouldn't make Rena powerless at all. The last resort Oishi-san gave me had already lost all of its power.
保険なんて大丈夫だろう。大石さんはスクラップ帳があればきっと警察を納得させられる。そうなればあとは一斉捜査で奴らの陰謀が暴ける。そうなんだろう。
あのスクラップ帳だけで本当に動いてくれるかな。お役所ってのはお尻の重いところだそうだからね。
Rena was thinking if she didn't see any progress with the scrapbooks, she'd pressure the police by letting them know about the gasoline.
とりあえずは大石さんを信じよう。あとは家宝を待つだけだろ。
そうだね。じゃあさっきの話の続きをするかな。それでね、その寄生虫は長い時間を経るうちに徐々に無害になっていったの。でもそれでは面白くない人たちがいた。それがひなみ沢御三家なの。だから彼らは。
Rena was simply telling everyone what she heard from Takano-san. I started mumbling so I could let Oishi-san know what was going on.
すごい匂いだよな。ガソリンをポリタンク丸々ぶちまけるとすごいもんだ。
I was pretending to mumble to myself, so I could only say it very quietly. I wished I could say it louder, but it was probably impossible. I wasn't sure if Uisi-san could hear me. I thought of an idea to find out whether or not they could hear me.
車のクラクション聞きたいな。
クマちゃん、クラクション一発。
Kumagai honked the horn once quickly.
ガソリンとは参ったっすね。これでさっきからなんとなく感じてた匂いの正体が分かりました。
Very intense.
多分この後の要求を押し通すための切り札にするつもりでしょうね。
クマちゃん、普通の若い子がポリタンクって言い方をしたら18リットル入りのあれですよね。
Good night, Liz. Please get some sleep. And try not to stay up too late in the future.
さあ、多分。
小宮山君、営林署の人まだ返してないですよね。ちょっと呼んでもらえます？なるほどね。携行缶にはちゃんと
It
ガ
was
ソリ
very
ンと
nice of her to
明記して
label
あ
the
る
cans as gasoline.
灯油のポリタンクにも灯油とちゃんと書いてある？
はい。中身を間違えたら大変ですから、すべての燃料容器にはちゃんと明記してあります。
Not too many people know this, but regular portable tanks can't hold gasoline. Gasoline, while common, is extremely flammable, and it can be lit even with static electricity. Therefore, gasoline must be kept in special metal containers. I keep mine in a very thick plastic container. Those are called carrying cans.
じゃあ前原さんがガソリンって言ったのは間違いなくガソリンなわけだ。携行缶は何リットルのサイズのがあったんですか
？18リットル用と5リットル用の2種類があったと記憶してます。
5リットル用って多分平たい形をしたやつですよね。
ええ、真っ赤で平たくてこう取っ手がついています。
前原圭一はポリタンクという言い方をしましたね。18リットルの方でしょうか。
あるいは見慣れない形だったんで、とりあえず適当な言葉が思いつかずポリタンクという言い方をしたのかもしれない。でもどのみち本当にガソリンだとしたらかなり危険なことになります。
Gasoline burns when lit. Yes, thank you. But what's an even bigger threat is than liquid gasoline are the fumes. When gasoline fumes are lit on fire, they explode. Also, gasoline evaporates quickly and easily. Even at freezing temperatures, it evaporates. And so, in other words, inside the closed classroom, the fumes would fill the entire space. The classroom would then become a bomb itself.
クマちゃん、危険物第4類とかわかる？
いえ、気化ガソリンが危険だってことは理解してるんですが、詳しいことまでは。
18リットルと5リットルで最悪の場合どの程度規模が違うか調べときたいな。そうだ、ジジイに聞いてみよう。署に連絡して鑑識のじい様がいるか聞いてみて。
おお、
Oh no, it's the forensics guy!
犯人に直接リーチ一発振り込みドカーンってところ。
裏まで乗っちゃって大変なことになってます。そのドカンってのは実に笑えないですな。ところですいません、危険物の第4種はお持ちで？
おつよんか？ここにいる人間全員足せば公主じゃぞい。どうした？ガソリンでも巻いて籠城しとるんか？
まさにそのようです。人質の一人に盗聴器を持たせてるんですが、どうも犯人は教室内にガソリンを撒いたようなんです。ただ撒いた量が18リットル缶か5リットル缶かは分かりません。両方のケースのですね、最悪の場合について教えてもらえませんかね。教室の広さは
だいたい50平米ですね。
It's a good thing they just have the blueprints of the classroom on hand.
室内は密閉か？
おそらくさぞやガソリン臭いだろうと思います。
多いしまずいぜい。
やっぱり
教室は粉々に吹っ飛ぶぜい。教室内はまず全員。
そりゃ18リットルの場合ですか？
アホ、5リットルの場合じゃ。
Yes.
わしの記憶がボケてないなら 1.8 メートルの室内を吹き飛ばすのに4リットルもあれば十分だったはずじゃ。
The policeman listening to their conversation on the side went pale. 8 by 8 meters meant a room that was 64 square meters. Only 4 liters are needed to blow that up, and at least 5 liters were scattered in a 50 square meter room.
つまりお釣りが来るってことですね。嫌なリーチだな。じゃあ聞きたくはないんですが、18リットルだったら。
Is that gonna blow up all of the surrounding area too?
そうだの。大石風に例えると、親のリーチ一発ピンフ単陽赤々ドラドラに振り込む感じかの。
What the heck does that mean?
どういう意味ですか？
親の倍満24000点。配給減点が25000点だから、1000点本は1本残るってことですかね。
そんなところだの。柱1本くらいは残るかもしれんぞい。
Gotcha.
そりゃあ振り込みたくないリーチだな。ね。
今のうちに消防署に連絡して化学車両を待機させた方がいいだろうな。
Just in case.
事件解決後の処理は消防の指示を仰ぐ必要があるぞい。
参ったな。こいつは盗聴情報なんで消防車を呼び寄せたらバレちまうな。なんとか学校から見えないところに待機させましょう。
それがいいの。あとそれから多いし。
ねえ、さっき人質の一人と接触できましてね。その際にこっそりと盗聴器を持たせました。ガソリン散布はそれで分かったんですよ。
まずいの。化学火災の事例で発火原因に電子機器ランプの点灯があったはずだぞい。ガソリンの発火点は300度程度。火花はおろか静電気でも着火して爆発。
冗談じゃない。
Okay, nobody mess with their hair.
なんだってそんな危険な液体がこうも簡単に世の中にあるんですかね。
How else are we gonna mow the lawn?
知るか。消防法と自動車社会を作った連中に言え。6月だからの。そう空気も乾燥しとらんとは思うが、とにかく万が一に備えて。
I can't because the listening device is turned off. Oh wait.
大石さん、盗聴器で聞く限り犯人はライターを所持している模様です。
ってことは、つまり前原さんがスプレーを使って静止しようとしても着火までは防げない可能性が大ってわけだ。しかも盗聴器まで使えなくなるとはなんてこった。
おいし、ライターはまずいぞ。冗談でもいじらせてはならん。犯人もガソリンの危険性を認知しとらん可能性がある。量を聞く限りとても知識があるとは思えんぞ。
Luis's back was covered with a cold sweat. He never even thought this would turn into such a serious matter. All of a sudden, this is becoming like a Fruit of Grisaia situation. He didn't know how dangerous gasoline was. He didn't know because he'd never heard of cars exploding in car accidents. He knew it was dangerous, but he didn't know what it was capable of. Gasoline is more dangerous once it evaporates. Therefore, a burning car in an accident and gasoline fumes being ignited are at completely different levels. It's quite simple to understand if you think about how car engines work. Cars vaporize gasoline in the carburetor and let it explode in the engine cylinders. In other words, that little explosion in the engine is what gives cars the power to move. Therefore, if you want more power, an engine needs to be bigger to create a bigger explosion. So if an engine cylinder was the size of a classroom, how much power would it create? Anyone with knowledge of engines would know. But a lot of people don't consider how dangerous evaporated gasoline is, because it's too familiar. 25 hostages and 1 hostage taker. All 26 people were basically stuck in a huge bomb. Furthermore, the suspect might accidentally set it off. If she were to pretend to light the lighter as a threat, that would be the end. All of the people around Uisi had gone pale. The classroom might explode at any moment. How could they save all the hostages? Especially when the criminal was living in her own delusion and her requests were something so unreal.
失礼します。先ほど受け取ったスクラップ帳の中に犯人からと思われる文書が見つかりました。
One of the policemen brought over a folded piece of paper. Uisi opened it while the others watched. He saw girlish handwriting on the paper. He could tell this was written before she invaded the school. Dear Uisi-sama, if you are reading this letter, it means I'm at the final stage. I must have seized the school and held the students as hostages. I'm planning to appoint you as a negotiator, so please pretend to be threatened by me and become my contact with the outside. The first thing I want to tell you is that my enemy is the Sonozaki family, and also the aliens, who are pretending to be the parasites that control the Sonozaki family. What? I didn't think you'd believe me if I brought up the aliens, so I didn't tell you about them until now. But when you read those scrapbooks, you will understand. The aliens came to Earth in UFOs in ancient times. They landed in Onikafuji Swamp. They used this village as their breeding grounds. And through that selective breeding, they widened their domain. They were successful, and now they're trying to invade the Earth.
なんだこりゃ。
All of the other patrolmen frowned at the letter.
いやいや、高野の他のスクラップ帳も読みましたが、これ個人的にはオッシーが面白かったな。
The Sonozaki family, as well as all of the village authorities, have been brainwashed by the aliens. The villagers' attempts to revive the cult of Oyashiro-sama were actually part of the aliens' strategy to invade the Earth. The aliens are very clever. They don't let people realize they're being controlled. The Erie Clinic must be their secret research center. Please conduct an investigation and expose their secret. Also, please check out the bottom of the swamp. The UFO must still be there. Also, capture all the relatives of the three families and take x-rays of their brains. You'll find hideous parasites inside of them. But please be careful. The aliens eliminate whoever finds out about them by replacing their host with a look-alike. That's how they've been controlling the village. Therefore, there may already be some aliens among the villagers. It is possible that they will try to interfere with your investigation. As a matter of fact, there have already been lookalikes of Mio Takano, Rika Furude, and me, Ren Ryugu. If you see any of those three, capture them immediately. That will be the proof of the aliens existing among us.
Takano Mio? どうしてでしょうね。
ああ、あれだ。俺さ、彼女との電話で岐阜県警さんの検視で一日ズレがあったかもしれないですよって言っちゃったことがあったんですよ。
Are we at least going to get a to be continued soon? I'm going to end the stream of the next to be continued, but we just aren't getting one.
ああ、検視結果のミスの話ですか。
それで私、祭りの日には死んでたはずなのにどうしていたのかななんてことを言っちゃったんです。それをこういう風に解釈するとはな。ふざけ半分で脅しすぎたかな。
自分の名前が含まれてるのも奇妙ですね。鏡に映ったのでも見間違えたとか。
One of the policemen spoke up. He was one of the pair who searched the garbage dump that night.
これは俺、ほら、竜宮レナを探し回った晩、小倉で目撃されたって話があったでしょ。あれだよ。あれは多分、村人の誰かが流したデマなんだよ。で、それを本人がどこかで聞いて、自分がもう一人いるように錯覚した。
There's only one achievement left, but there are always multiple to be continued before you get an achievement. Usually 2. Or earlier, 3.
くそったれ。ノストラダムスだっけ？あれの大予言と同じですね。何が起こっても予言に含まれるように解釈しちまう。今の竜宮レナは箸が転んだって宇宙人の仕業だって言い出すぞ。
あるいはいずれ捕まることを予見して精神鑑定で有利になる資料を先に用意したとか。
そんなことあの子は考えてないよ。あの子は本気で信じてる。いや、本気の本気で。コロッと生かされた私だからわかるんです。彼女は本気で信じてるんだ。
あ、まだ1枚あるっすよ。何々？
P.S. I was poisoned yesterday with the same stuff that killed Toмотake-san. I've been scratching my throat since then. I will probably have clawed my throat open by tomorrow. If you can find the antidote when you investigate the Erie Clinic, please bring it to me.
これは
ですね。本気で宇宙人の話を真に受けてるなら解毒剤だと言えばうまく騙せるかも。
But you may not find the antidote, or maybe it'll be too late by the time you do. Therefore, considering the time I have left, I will set 7 p.m. tonight as the deadline. If an investigation doesn't take place and the antidote doesn't arrive by 7 p.m., I will choose to die with all of the hostages by lighting the gasoline instead.
19時？今何時だ
？18時前です。
Days are long nowadays. It doesn't get dark even in the evenings. It'll probably start to get dark at around 7 p.m.
あと1時間か。
Rena, that's a horrible thing to do. If you're going to die, don't kill all these innocent kids with you. Like, why? That doesn't even make sense.
いや、1時間を待たずに火遊びで大爆発するかも。
Unless that's a bluff and you're just doing that to speed them up. Still messed up. But if she actually, tries to do that, there is no escape.
くそ、 どうすりゃいい。
何が地球侵略と戦うだ。それに人質を巻き込むなんてめちゃくちゃだ。
めちゃくちゃなんです。今の彼女にはまともな交渉なんか通用しない。しかも本人は冷静だと思ってる分だけタチが悪い。
おいさ、それより次の文章。
何？
I'm planning to spread gasoline throughout the classroom. I'm sure you realize how dangerous that is. If anyone suggests storming into the room, please tell them exactly how bad an idea that would be. Also, the hostages are anchored down with U-shaped bike locks. Even if those alien policemen rushed in and killed me, they'd have to cut each lock. But if you tried cutting them, you might create sparks. Therefore, you'd need to completely ventilate the room first. In other words, it'll take an extremely long time to rescue all of the hostages from the classroom. Actually, I have a different explosive system set up other than the gasoline I spread. It's a very simple time bomb using gasoline and a kitchen timer. The kitchen timer provides electricity at a set time. I rip the tip off its plug, and so it'll create enough sparks to ignite the gasoline. I've already set the timer to 7 p.m. Even if I'm not around, there will be an explosion at that time. If the classroom isn't ventilated by then, it'll explode too. I'm sorry to ask you like this, Uishi-san, but please help me so we can avoid a tragedy. Please let the three families know that me and Sonozaki, the successor to the head of the Sonozaki family, and Rika Furude, a mascot for the cult of Oyoshiro-sama, are in this classroom. If anyone from the three families helps you, I'm sure their conspiracy will be exposed by tonight. The alien invasion is going to happen very soon. Please get going quickly. To my ally, Uishi-san. Right after Yugu. Smash! Uishi threw the scrapbooks to the ground.
くそったり！何が味方だ！
キッチンタイマーって目覚まし時計みたいなもんですか？
ああ、昔の炊飯器とかにはタイマーがついてないものも多かったんですよ。それでね、コンセント穴のついたキッチンタイマーって名前の目覚まし時計がありましてね。そのコンセントに炊飯器を挿しておけば、仕掛けた時刻に自動的に電源が供給されて、指定時刻に炊飯器が電源オンにできるって代物です。
へえ、そりゃ便利そうですね。
確かにそれを流用すれば、次元発火装置なんて簡単にでっち上げられる。キッチンタイマーってあたりが女の子っぽくてなんだか複雑だな。
電力会社に頼んで電力を落とすとかはどうすかね。コード式なら電力がなければ無力化できます。ああ、でもダメか。教室が真っ暗になるのと同時にライターをつけるに決まってますよね。
やっぱり解毒剤の線をついて遅効性の睡眠薬でも与えますか。遅効性ですよ。多分自身に使う前に人質に試すはずです。注意してください。
了解です。手配します。
あと前原さんともう一度話したいな。
Oh boy。
竜宮レナが間違ってライターをいじらないようにうまくなだめてもらわないと。あと盗聴器もオフにさせないといけません。盗聴器はどう？面白いことは拾いましたか？
犯人が人質に被害を加えている模様です。
Probably Mion。
なんてこった。
どうも。
Yeah。
園崎ミオンに対してのようです。
やめろレナ。
Do we end it here? Because I feel like we finally got to transition to a different scene, but that seems like quite a cliffhanger. But also, if we still have an insane amount of time left, I don't... Yeah, based on what people have said, we're not finishing this tonight. So if we're going to save, I think we got to save here. Sorry, we're going to be leaving this in a cliffhanger of Mion getting beat up. But... Sorry, I really thought we were going to finish it tonight because it seemed to line up with the amount of achievements. How could I have known that he decided, you know what, let's make the last story be like 5 times longer than all the others. I guess that's just how it be. So, sorry everyone, but we're leaving it on a cliffhanger here because I actually do have to sign off pretty soon. And we're just not going to have enough time to finish it, unfortunately. Sorry, that's kind of what happens when you do blind Let's Plays, though. So, I guess we'll be finishing this for realsies on Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So, tune in for that. Sorry for the cliffhanger, but... that's how it gotta be. Hope you guys have a great rest of your night, and God bless everybody.